4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She once fell off a ski lift. He was called in for questioning. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Patrick Mahomes can try to run from the Tom Brady comparisons, but he cannot hide. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We are live from the Mandalay Bay Convention Center in Las Vegas leading up to Super Bowl 58. Perloff, last night was opening night for the NFL. So Patrick Mahomes, Brock Purdy, everybody, all the stars from both teams and coaches were out in full force. And of course, the Mahomes-Brady conversation was one of the big takeaways.
Absolutely. It was interesting. We were there, and Mahomes and Kelce were forces of nature in itself. And it seems like, Mahomes is used to being here. He has a Super Bowl plan here. That's pretty cool that you have a plan. This is how I like to approach Super Bowl weeks. It's not common that quarterbacks are like, this is my fourth one. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, right. I've been there, done that, guys.
But now he's getting asked about Brady. This is new to him. I don't think last year we were doing any Brady, and now it's unavoidable.
Well, this is what happens when you are playing in your fourth Super Bowl in 6 seasons and you're going for your third win in 5 seasons. So let's hear a little of Mahomes from last night talking about the Brady comparisons.
I know I'm blessed to be around a lot of great players around me. And so right now it's doing whatever I can to beat a great 49ers team and trying to get that third ring. And then if you ask me that question in like 15 years, and I'll see if I can get close to 7. But 7 seems like a long ways away still.
Okay, so this is the right thing to say, and he's right. 7 is far away from 2. Now, when it's 3, it feels maybe a little bit more on the horizon.
Your math is correct.
Still far, don't get me wrong, but a little more on the horizon. And here's the thing. Unfortunately for athletes, when it comes to these conversations, I don't think they have a lot of say, because this is something that's for the public. It's for them too, but it's for us as sports fans. We're the ones who like the comparisons. We're the ones who want to put Mount Rushmores and greatest of all time, because we can do both. We can appreciate the career in the moment of Patrick Mahomes and also be thinking about where does he fall right now in terms of the all-time great players. We're smart enough as sports fans to do both, and I don't think it's disrespecting Mahomes or Brady to have these conversations.
Well, I would disagree a little bit, because I think LeBron and Jordan fuel themselves a lot of those debates. And I think LeBron is a huge basketball fan and wants to jump into that debate just as much as we do.
Yeah, that Jordan made a documentary to remind the younger generation, hey, I was
so
awesome.
I wouldn't say that is just the fans doing the LeBron
That's
Jordan
true,
thing.
very
I
true.
think LeBron. But the other thing too about this, the fans do it, but for me, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble keeping track. So now Mahomes is catching Brady, but Mahomes, since we are in such a rush to name GOATs, by the time Mahomes gets to Brady, we're already going to have C.J. Stroud as greater, and maybe.
You're saying we can't be trusted with
I'm just saying it's
GOAT labels.
GOAT is like whoever just happens to be in front of our face right now. The fans have no memory anymore, and it's all about who's the most recent. So, and this is the latest evidence is that we're putting Patrick Mahomes in the same comparison with Tom Brady. And he doesn't even have 3, by the way. He has 2.5 because he hasn't won the Super Bowl yet. And we're in such a rush to say this person that is in front of us is the greatest ever. That feels like the important sports fan trend to me, this sort of recency bias on GOAT. And I think it's getting ridiculous.
Okay, put the fans aside for a moment, because I think it's fair for us to have this conversation. But put the fans aside. You mentioned it. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, they want to have this conversation. I think they both want to be a part of this. Right. Patrick Mahomes also said last night, we have a chance to, quote, put our stamp on NFL history. Yeah. To say, all right, ask me this question in 15 years and I'll tell you how we match up, me and versus Tom and our resumes. Yes, that is true. But in the moment right now, you are also in the back of your mind and now in the front, you are still thinking about your legacy because you are on the doorstep of a dynasty. If you were a middling team, if you were a mediocre team, if you were not going to all these Super Bowls, believe me, we wouldn't be having this conversation. It's kind of a privilege, and I think that the fans and the athletes themselves absolutely love it. And the other part of this, too, is right now, in my opinion, Mahomes doesn't have a true peer that's playing right now. Joe Burrow's got to stay healthier if he's going to keep challenging Mahomes. Josh Allen has to win. Lamar Jackson has to win. Justin Herbert has to win. And who am I forgetting? Jalen Hurts, whoever, the great quarterbacks in the league. They're going to have to step it up if they want to be considered Mahomes' peers. So right now, in the absence of that, Brady is the comparison.
I hear what you're saying. You're right. But Brady also didn't really have a peer because he passed Manning so far away so early. It was very clear that he was going to be the Super Bowl winning quarterback. And I don't even count Peyton Manning's second quarterback. So to me, Brady was peerless, just like Mahomes
His
is
second
now.
Super Bowl, you don't count.
His second Super Bowl win, yeah. So here's the thing, though. You heard what Mahomes said. It's a we thing. When you ask any expert this week, what is the first thing they say about this matchup between the Chiefs and the Niners? It comes down to McCaffrey versus Pacheco.
Sure.
I'm hearing it everywhere.
Right.
And Tom Brady, there's so many Super Bowls where he played varying roles on the team. It's much harder to do this football GOAT debate. everyone knows it is the ultimate team game. NBA, it makes so much more sense because there's only 5 guys on the court.
Sure.
And you can have a go. And like
You
Michael
play offense
Jordan.
and defense.
The Michael Jordan-LeBron debate is so much more one-to-one, whereas Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady are very aware that a lot has to go right for them to win the Super Bowl. This is, ironically, a defense-run Super Bowl. And Mahomes' whole thing has changed. So I just think Mahomes is aware this whole GOAT conversation is a little silly. Not silly in the sense that it's so complicated for football. Tom Brady's 7 rings all have different stories behind them. They're all different teams. So I think Mahomes knows it's not going to be a counting thing. You know, he's not going to say, well, I got here and now I'm above Brady. Because with football, you're always going to be able to argue back with 700 other factors that led to those rings.
Okay, but I get what you're saying. Of course, it's the ultimate team game, but these are the quarterbacks who get the most attention, make the most money, by the way, and I would argue and say have the most pressure. We talk about legacies. We'll do this. We love having these debates. Greatest wide receiver, greatest tight end, greatest defensive back, all this stuff. We'll do that till the cows come home. But in terms of when we get to this echelon, it's quarterbacks. And also, as we're talking about Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes comparisons, and Mahomes got asked about this last night in opening night. And by the way, spoiler, he's going to get asked about this from now to the end of time. And Tom Brady's going to get asked about this now to the end of time.
Well, unless Mahomes loses on Sunday and he are 2
it will
points.
quiet it a little bit. See,
Yeah, but if he stays at 2, then there's no. I mean, if he loses on Sunday and does not get back next year, it'll quiet it completely.
okay, but he's still 28, so we have a lot of time here, right?
Yeah, I mean, Eli won 2 by 27. I just
But
think
Eli never won another playoff game outside of those Super Bowl runs.
But my point is, it's such a huge lift to get to 7 Super Bowl rings. Honestly, if he loses on Sunday, he's behind the 8 ball in this chase. He kind of needs this win, and that's how far Brady is ahead of him. Is what I'm saying is it's just a gigantic gap right now to me.
So there's another part of this debate that you can add a little wrinkle to as we're talking about Mahomes versus Brady, where do you actually have to get to 7 Super Bowls to be considered the greatest of all time? Because you just mentioned it, football, ultimate team game. You're going to put resumes up between Mahomes and Brady outside of the rings. When you start, listen, I don't love the counting stats because Brady started in one era and ended in a different one, and so much changed over the 3 years that he was playing in the NFL. But you're going to see the eye test where Mahomes is the more athletic quarterback, and also a lot of the numbers are going to favor Mahomes. So does he actually need 7 if he got 5? If he got them all with Kansas City as opposed to Brady, who did 6 with New England and 1 with Tampa Bay? There's 100 ways we can dissect this thing where you can come out with Mahomes being the GOAT.
Yeah, but
eventually.
But to me, that's what I mentioned earlier, the lowering standard of GOAT. If you're going to say, okay, he doesn't need to get to 7, then guess what? There's going to be someone, and then Mahomes gets to 5, and he's the GOAT. There's going to be someone in 3, and we're going to do this again. I think we're lowering the standards for GOAT talk. By the way, Mahomes' numbers are coming back down to earth because of, for some reason.
A little this year, yeah.
Not just this, but in general, I think the trend is down. So he peaked at 50 touchdowns, just like Brady did. I don't think he's going to blow him away numbers-wise.
Okay, but Mahomes threw 50 touchdowns his first full season as a starter. It took Brady until he got Randy Moss.
Right, but he's not doing that anymore. It's interesting. I don't think he's going to blow him away on the numbers front. And the other thing, too, is there are going to be guys who are going to come up and blow Mahomes' numbers away, the way the NFL goes. So I don't even think he's going to get him on the counting stats, ironically.
Well, I mean,
by like a large margin.
Well, to be honest, the counting stats, they're going to really favor Brady, who played
Yeah.
so long.
Right, that's a great point.
That's the thing about Mahomes. If he can do this in a more condensed timeline, let's not forget, Tom Brady did go a decade in the middle, thanks to Eli Manning and the New York Giants, went a decade in the middle without winning. I mean, he really had to reinvent himself, and we know about Tom Brady's story. I think Mahomes still has a shot of having a very long career. You and I kind of differ on that. You think the way that he plays could open himself up to more injuries. We see him hobbling around a lot.
Yeah.
I actually...
Is that just the way he runs?
I don't know, the way he walks. I think that there could be a reinvention for Mahomes, too.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's such a tall task to reinvent. Tom Brady had 3 careers. So
3 Hall of Fame careers actually kind of built on top of each other.
Mahomes, not only does he need to reinvent himself once, he'll have to reinvent himself twice. And just the reality, Travis Kelce might retire this offseason, maybe next offseason. Andy Reid is 64. There's rumors he is contemplating retirement at some point in the near future. There's just so much that can happen. What if the team just takes a small day? Because listen, it's a little like Brady. they were the number 3 seed. They're not so dominant. I mean, if they win Super Bowls, they're winning it by a hair. And just like Brady did too. I mean, Brady won very close Super Bowls. So I just think, again, it's just going to be one thing. I understand the GOAT talk. He might not have to get to 7, but can we just admit right now 7 is not going to happen? I just think that 7 is crazy, and that's where I disagree with a lot of people who were asking Mahomes questions last night. You're going to have to redefine GOAT because he's not getting to 7. And I hope we're on air long enough to see
how this pans out.
And
the longest show bet in history.
I hope we were watching in the fourth quarter after he had 6. I just think that so much has to go right. So, yes, if you're going to put him in that GOAT conversation with Brady, then you have to redefine GOAT, and it has to be he gets to 5 and Brady was at 7 and he's the GOAT. But that's you're changing the sort of parameters of this debate to me, and if you're going to do that.
Well, I think it's okay to do it as we're talking about Mahomes and Brady because how different they play.
Yeah.
If this was, if it was like Brock Purdy or Joe Burrow or someone who played a little more like Brady. I know Burrow used his legs a little bit, but if it was a little more like Burrow, who is a little more Brady-like, maybe like Mahomes is on a different level athletically.
Well, Purdy's actually a speedster compared to Brady too. And, by the way, pretty much everybody is on a different level. EJ's on a different level athletically than Tom Brady. I don't think that's a high bar.
We do a fun open that says I can run the 40 faster than Tom Brady. It's actually not that far off.
Well, I mean, just picture that Tom Brady showed up at the draft combine and looked like that. Like, that is not a high bar.
Okay, so that was just one of the amazing things that happened yesterday, which will heretofore be known as the longest day in recorded history for everyone sitting on this set. We had like 4 days packed into one yesterday, and we're super excited to talk about all the interesting experiences that we had yesterday in Las Vegas. One I never thought that I would ever have.
That I think I know what you're talking about. That is one of the coolest things I've done, certainly in recent memory.
So we're going to talk about it next. What we did yesterday literally brought a tear to Perloff's eyes. What in Las Vegas can you do that would cause Andrew Perloff to get choked up, and he didn't lose like $1,000 at craps table or anything?
Well, yeah, it's true.
Yes, it was not gambling related. It was not alcohol related. We're not that kind of show. But it made us emotional, especially you.
Yeah. And you're not talking about the alarm going off at 1:30 local time.
That's a different kind of tear.
Yeah, that it was powerful.
It was.
It was a
Memorable.
moment I won't forget. Luckily, it is memorialized in many photos.
Which
I think
we'll be putting out on our social medias very soon.
Yeah, I love Maggie. That's all I will say.
Say no more.
The Bachelor is one of my favorite shows. Just to see people find each other is magical to me.
We're going to get more into that next. Very memorable experience for us. You are welcome to weigh in on the Mahomes and the Brady conversation. Mahomes being in this conversation now, does this bother you? Do you like this comparison? And I think he doesn't have to get to 7 to be considered the greatest quarterback of all time. Because the athleticism, the way he plays, if he can do it in a more condensed timeline, if he can do it with one team, there's a lot of factors where Mahomes can catch Tom Brady in this conversation. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Just because we're on the road doesn't mean you can't be part of the conversation. Want to hear from you. Again, 855-212-4227. More Maggie and Perloff will tell you what brought a tear to Perloff's eye yesterday. Next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Don't let the old man in. I wanna live me some more.
Welcome back to
Can't
Maggie and
leave it up
Perloff.
to him.
That's Toby Keith, who sadly passed away from cancer at 62 last night. I think you'll hear a lot of tributes at Super Bowl week. Very cool to hear his music.
That someday
Interesting, we were just teasing, by the way. It's easy to make me cry, you know, Maggie.
Well, I was going to say, you're about to get teared up right
Yeah.
now. And yesterday, when we were doing something off of Radio Row, or here at the Mandalay Bay Convention Center, we decided we want to do something that was quintessentially Las Vegas. And no, not get thrown in jail. We wanted to do something really unique, but associated with the city. So we went to an Elvis-themed wedding yesterday.
We didn't just go to an Elvis-themed wedding. We we were part of an Elvis.
We were
themed
part
wedding.
of it, yes.
We were in the wedding.
It was pretty amazing.
By the end, I was the best man.
It was one of the great experiences that we've had, and we're going to put all this stuff on our social media. It actually, technically was a vows renewal. This was Scott and Michelle from Denver, who were nice enough to allow Perloff, myself, EJ, Sully, come with our camera, come and hang with them and witness this really cool thing. Is it cheesy? Of course it's cheesy. But is it also very sentimental? Yes, and Perloff got choked up.
Oh my God! Are you kidding me? When Elvis, who was the officiant,
Yeah.
went in the ghetto, that song always gets to me. And to hear it, the lyrics reworked for a wedding vow renewal is amazing. I think the Elvis impersonator was sick. He was on it the whole time. By the end,
Very method.
the end, I actually said to you, I'm going to bring my wife Sarah to
You turned
Vegas,
me.
and we're going to do a vow renewal with Elvis as our minister.
The couple, Scott and Michelle from Denver, turned to walk down the aisle at the end, and Perloff turns to me and goes, "I'm bringing Sarah."
Yeah.
I was like, "Do it! I can't wait to come for this."
Honestly, I think if you are married and you have not had an Elvis vow renewal, you don't really love your wife.
You
because
don't.
That's not love.
There's a new bar
You're
now.
kind of just dating at that point because. And Scott and Michelle, they were wonderful. That was
Family
really
was there. We got
Oh.
to meet some of Scott's family and Michelle's family, and it was great. The men were on one side, women on the other. Perloff and I dressed for the occasion.
Yeah. And by the way, why would you have anyone except an Elvis impersonator do your wedding? I'm so mad because we had a minister and a rabbi at
Yeah.
my wedding. I'm like, where was Elvis?
Yeah, I know. What were you guys doing?
Yeah.
How
Did
blonde,
you have
vanilla?
Elvis do yours?
We thought about it. No.
Yeah.
No, we didn't. And yes, what a huge missed opportunity. It was something I was expecting to be full cheese, and it wasn't because there were some amazing moments where these two people were reconnecting. They had kind of quickly gotten married about 10 months ago, only signing papers in on their kitchen table, never got to have the big wedding thing, and then wanted to do this. I'll tell you what, it was super memorable for everyone.
All right, now you're going a little too far. It wasn't Charles and Diane.
I thought it was
was
awesome.
super cool, but it was a lot of fun. You're right. Is that the quintessential Vegas thing? Because we want to fully embrace ourselves in Vegas, and to do Vegas, I think you have to do old Vegas. You have to be in the Sinatra, Elvis vibe. Not I don't know what the new Vegas is, because we actually did this drive out through Vegas, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's a new hotel here. That's a new hotel here."
Yeah, they're knocking this one down to put this here.
Not famously, they're knocking down the Tropicana
to build a baseball stadium for the A's.
Yeah, I think we got to embrace the old school. Are we going to go to that part of Vegas where the Binions is and the 50-cent blackjack tables?
Oh, like the Fremont Street and the
Fremont
Golden
Street,
Nugget?
yeah. I think we got to
should.
rock it old school, because we're not really new school people, Maggie. We're not the Aria and the
No.
High Rollers. I think
No.
I think we're more 2 a.m. in a lounge kind of people.
Yeah, the topless day party isn't really our scene.
The Gronk Beach Party, not so much.
Thanks again to everyone at the Little Vegas Chapel, to Steve and his entire staff, who welcomed us, of course, Scott and Michelle. Andrew Bogish is standing by with headlines. I'm curious, Bogish, have you ever been to an Elvis wedding?
I've not been to an Elvis wedding.
Then you haven't lived. You
Yeah.
haven't lived, sir.
I know a guy named Elvis, but didn't go to his wedding, so that would have been as close as I could have come.
Wait, hold on a second. You know a man named Elvis? I do not know any Elvises. That's awesome.
Gerbach?
Unfortunately, not Elvis Gerbach, just a guy from Queens that went to high school with my wife.
Oh,
Man, you really should have done whatever you
Yeah.
could to get to the invite to that wedding.
good story, Bogish.
Just to say.
A guy from Queens who went to high school with my wife. That's all you got on Elvis?
Yeah, that's all I got in New York, not in Las Vegas on Super Bowl week.
So the other small thing about the Elvis impersonator who was doing the wedding, by the way, you get 3 songs. I think of your choice if Elvis officiates your wedding at the Little Vegas Chapel. He was wearing this necklace. Did you guys catch this? EJ, you were working the camera. He had a necklace that he said Elvis would give out to, now I don't want to get this wrong. I think it was to women he had been with and spent the night with.
I
It was kind of like he's the original Jeter with the gift bags and stuff. And so allegedly, and so he had this necklace, and somehow this guy got his hands on one of the Elvis parting gifts that he would give to these women. And maybe also some men who are like in the crew or people he relied on. Anyway, if you were like in the club with Elvis, you got this cool necklace, and this dude has it, and he said it's his most prized possession of his life.
Yeah, I didn't believe a word of that.
You did?
No,
I bit that
was-
hook, line, and sinker.
that necklace, I think it was made of plastic. I saw it.
No.
I don't know.
That was 14 karat gold spray.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. You know, interesting. We learned a fact. They started doing those in 1977. Was the first, according to this expert, was the first Elvis wedding
At Graceland.
At Graceland.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. But
I
he
think
wasn't
so.
sure. They weren't sure if Elvis was actually at the wedding.
Right. He might have already passed away.
I think it was. I was talking about Vegas. He said the Vegas tradition started in 77.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was Graceland. My bad.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway,
There was a lot going on.
But
it was
also
it was a
too,
vows renewal.
in Queens, apparently, Elvis Bogus's wife's high school friend also officiates. Is that true? He officiates weddings, Bogus?
Yes, but not as Elvis. He uses a different name.
He calls himself Joe. It's
Exactly.
weird. He just changes it. Good morning, Bogus. Headlines. Hello.
Good morning, everybody. Those headlines are sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save nearly $750 on average. Call or click today and find out if we could save you hundreds on your car insurance. In a rare occurrence, I feel bad for Roger Goodell because the NFL commissioner was forced to address the lunacy promoted by Maggie and EJ and the other Tay-Tay Travis conspiracy theorists.
I don't think I'm that good a scripter or anybody on our staff. I think it's, listen, there is no way that I could have scripted that one. Let's just put it that way. But she is, or anybody in our office, she's a remarkable performer. She knows great entertainment. I had the opportunity to go to 2 of her concerts with our girls and my wife. She's the best of the best, and so having her come to NFL games, have her a part of that is nothing but a positive.
Yeah, but please keep believing in all the nonsense. Like, they made it cold in Arrowhead 3 weekends ago, and they had Todd Monken take a dive for the Ravens' offensive game plan in the AFC title game.
Bogus, we all know the NFL controls the weather. Everybody knows that. They have for years.
But,
by the way, are we glossing over? Goodell went to 2 Taylor concerts? They're like,
That's a humble brag.
Well,
No, he said he saw her first in 2009 too.
man, this dude's a
But he's a
groupie.
legit. Yeah, he called himself a Swiftie multiple times yesterday. One thing, the NFL, if they are trying to script this, they don't script things as well. They can't get anything right. Why would they be able to script this gigantic coup?
I mean,
if they tried to do this, they would end up having some backup wide receiver date Olivia Rodrigo and break up 2 weeks. The NFL is not good enough to script all this, are they?
okay, but if
No.
I may ask a follow-up to Commissioner Goodell, why the free airtime, Raj? Why the free airtime
go.
for Taylor for the movie?
Well, also, too, the Boomer Esiason report yesterday that Taylor wants the NFL to pay for her plane from Tokyo. So that signals a total partnership, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, let's not act like there's a, hey guys, this is just a total coincidence. Well, listen, I think they're actually dating, but let's act like
You think they're actually dating? That's
to
still
be
a
determined,
sentence
guys.
you're
to be
saying?
Listen,
Yeah.
let's-
She needs 3 kids, Bogus, to believe this.
maybe more. Let's not act like this relationship hasn't been mutually beneficial for all parties. It's just like, hey,
Well-
my gosh, what a happy accident this is, and we're all making millions.
Yeah, of course they can be business partners after the fact, but that doesn't mean that this is all nonsense and fabricated from day one, which I
Tell
think
that
is...
to the Ravens. No, I'm just kidding. I know. I honestly, I don't think there's anything nefarious. I think this is just breaking so right for the NFL. And once again, like, you put yourself in a position to be lucky, right? You make your own luck. Is that that's the saying?
That's something.
They put themselves in a position where if one of the stars on a team starts dating the most famous pop star in the world, they've got the machine behind it that can make this even bigger. You know, they met the moment.
I will say this. I mean, yes, it may not be quote-unquote scripted at this point, but wouldn't this make the great rom-com? You start as a publicity stunt, and then all of a sudden they actually are in love.
God.
And then they actually win a Super Bowl. I mean, it does feel very rom-com-like, no?
There are currently 9 rom-coms on Netflix made in the last year that have a similar plot.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
that is
also-
too easy, EJ.
Listen, she's dropping an album conveniently a week before the Super Bowl. Listen, she drops lots of albums, so she's an
Yeah,
artist.
she's done them before. And again,
I know, but come on, they decide when these albums come out. I'm sure it's been written for it's probably been done for 6 months.
you guys still, though, have never addressed the number one thing is that she doesn't need the NFL. And there are not bros at the gym working out now is it over now? She is not, the NFL benefits from her. She doesn't need Travis Kelce. She doesn't need the NFL. I don't know if that's.
I don't agree with that.
Bogish, I think we can all speak for ourselves. Everybody needs the NFL.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I agree. What is she? She's already made enough money that she doesn't need anything.
The tour began before the NFL, right? That tour that was
the most
changing local economies.
But Bogus makes it sound like it was not mutually beneficial for all this to happen, which it clearly is.
Like, no.
It's definitely been beneficial.
No,
for Taylor.
it's love. I honestly think she has a crush on this guy because she's dated these twerps, and all of a sudden this big, handsome football player comes along. I don't think there's any financial consideration for Taylor.
Yeah,
I've also seen 0.0. Maybe I'm wrong.
I've seen too many of her music videos. Thanks to my daughter, she's not a good actress. She couldn't be pulling this off all along the way either.
No, that's actually to my point because Taylor's whole thing is about the boyfriends. Who's she dating? Who's her exes? Who she's not dating? Who she have beef with? Like, the fact that she has such a high-profile boyfriend, like, one of the issues was the last guy, nobody knew who he was. Like, she literally wouldn't bring him outside. Like, we really didn't know anything about their relationship. Like, this is one of the first public relationships she's had in a long time.
How about
There's no way this is not beneficial.
In the chat, if you want to watch us, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio, where we're live from the Mandalay Bay Convention Center. Pine Needle says there's 100 separate prop bets specifically related to only Taylor Swift. Yep. Now, we haven't been able to independently verify that, but I think he's about right. 100 seems actually a little small. They could probably boost that number up a little bit. Bogish, what else we got?
You guys will get into more of this morning, but the Niners practice field, not as hard as they'd prefer. The NFL only laid sod over UNLV's field turf last week. Normally host city practice site set up by December. Kyle Shanahan says his team is not changing any of its plans this week. And far from all of that, the Giants have apparently finally landed on a new defensive coordinator. It is former Titans DC Shane Bowen. He'll replace Swink Martindale. Way back on December 16th of 2023, the price of milk and gas were basically the same as they are today. Since then, the Cleveland Cavaliers have the best record in the NBA at 19-4. Last night's 136-110 defeat of the Kings moved Donovan Mitchell's team up to the 2 seed in the East.
It's good, but, it's February. At the end of the day, we just trying to continue to play the way we've been playing. It's crazy. No disrespect to a lot of you, but a lot of y'all were in here, when we were down and out. That's always a good sign when the locker room's packed.
The Maggie Gray theory. If you weren't here from day one, you can't enjoy anything. No. Mitchell scored 29 in this one. The Clippers outscored the Hawks in Atlanta 149-144 to finish their annual Grammy trip at 6-1. The Lakers go 4-2 on their version after a 124-118 win in Charlotte. And the Mavs won in Philly 118-102, 23 points and 8 assists for Kyrie Irving after missing 6 games with a sprained thumb. The 4th-ranked Kansas men fell in OT at K-State, 75-70. The Wildcats now 11-0 in extra time in 2 seasons under head coach Jerome Tang. The NHL began coming back from its All-Star break last night. The Islanders were 3-2 winners in Toronto. The Rangers outlasted the Avalanche 2-1 in overtime. And the Royals and shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. have signed an extension reportedly for 11 years and $288 million. Witt has opt-outs starting in year 7. The team can add on 3 years and $89 million. Guys, back to you.
When I saw that contract come down, I love Bobby Witt as a prospect. Has he really? He had a good year last year, 30 home runs, but he's playing on such a bad team. I'm like, that's a big commitment. We saw, unfortunately, a team like the Rays made that commitment to Wander Franco, and
that blew up for a totally different reason.
Right, I know. Yeah. But then Fernando Tatis, had a similar deal as well.
And he got busted for steroids.
Right,
these things go off the rails. These large contracts. I just thought what's crazy is the Kansas City Royals, who get basically no media attention whatsoever, decide to make this big announcement 5 days before the Chiefs play in the Super Bowl. Maybe hold this one. I don't know. We got a whole off season.
And he is their only hope. He is the future. So this is a big deal for them. But right, do the Super Bowl week.
It's this one might get lost a little bit.
Yeah, I was about to say, is he related to Joe Witt Jr., the new DC in Washington? Because that's a big deal.
Oh, speaking of relations, I saw someone in the Twitch chat. I want to shout them out. Athletic LT said we were talking about Elvis. Bogus. Were you talking about Elvis Dumervil, another NFL?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Elvis Dumervil.
I wish.
Wait, didn't Elvis Dumervil have the famous thing where his agent didn't send in something about, I think, the franchise tag, or there's some detail where the
they
agent didn't
faxed
get it in
faxed
time.
But it all worked out fine.
And he
right?
ended up, he was going to, I think, sign with Denver, and then ended up being the Ravens or something.
I think, he must have won a Super Bowl. And was he on the team in 2012? Or maybe he's gone. Or he won with Denver. I think he has a ring.
He might have a ring.
We got to check this.
We got to do a little fact checking. There was some things, there was a paperwork controversy that happened with Elvis Dumervil.
Yeah, it was a fax situation.
Faxing. What year was it?
2013.
Who's faxing in 2013? We have
Elvis
PDFs.
Dumervil.
Our Elvis impersonator from yesterday definitely still faxing.
Yeah, because
that guy.
he didn't fax the thing in time. He got cut by the Broncos. They were able to just void his contract.
And he signed with the
And then
Ravens.
he ended up signing with the Ravens. But yeah, he didn't get his documents in time.
I mean,
which we all can relate to, I guess, right?
Yeah, didn't get the homework in on time.
So he just missed a Super Bowl in Baltimore, and he just missed a Super Bowl in Denver. Poor Elvis Dumervil.
Oh my God!
But I tell you, that dude could get around the edge in a hurry.
Yeah, he was really good. Bogish, thank you. Appreciate that. We've got a lot more to do, including, is one of the teams in the Super Bowl at a massive disadvantage over the other? We'll get into the prep for the big game and what's going on here in Vegas in just one moment. Again, if you missed it, Perloff and I went to an Elvis-themed vows renewal yesterday, and it was one of the most moving and touching experiences we've ever had in our lives. Maggie Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Is this the way it's really going down? Is this how we say goodbye? Should've known better when.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Music theme today is former halftime show performers. This was a memorable one. Justin Timberlake. Kiss that one goodbye, Justin. I don't think you're ever going to be coming back after the wardrobe malfunction that happened on live television.
Wait. No, he did come back after that.
He did?
Yeah,
Do the Super Bowl?
3 years ago. Remember he did that continual dance?
Was he back?
Yes,
Am I
big
bugging?
time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Apologies.
Remember he started a song and then he did the whole thing himself and it was all one cut and he went up into the crowd. I think you were there.
Perloff's
No.
right.
Oh,
This was
yeah,
2018.
2018. I don't think I was. I haven't been to a Super Bowl since my last one was San Francisco that I attended in person.
Oh, wait, and that was 15?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Justin Timberlake,
Sorry. All right, he's back, everybody. I have no
and by
clue.
the way, I think he'll be back. Doesn't he have an album coming out? That guy is everywhere right now.
Yeah. So, okay. There's a bit of a controversy going on, and this one has nothing to do with pop stars or Travis Kelce or anything. It's actually about the practice fields that the practice field rather that the 49ers are practicing on at UNLV. So here's what's going down. The Chiefs are practicing at the Raiders facility. So they're right here. It's right off the strip. We were there last night for media night. The 49ers are about a half an hour away at UNLV's campus. It's indoor facility, but they had to bring in a new turf to put on top of the existing turf because I guess it wasn't, up to standard for the NFL. According to Adam Schefter, the 49ers have a major problem with the turf. Apparently, it's super spongy, like it's too much give, don't feel safe on it. Now, Kyle Shanahan said all the right things last night at media night. Here's what he said.
It is what it is. We'll be all right. It's the field we got. We'll be all right. We're good.
Yeah, so apparently behind the scenes, they're singing a much different tune. They don't feel good about this. And listen, famously, Nick Bosa tore his ACL at MetLife Stadium several years ago, and they blame the turf. So they have to be super sensitive like all teams, and now they're trying to figure this out. Listen, this might not matter to fans like us or people in the media, but I think to players, they talk about turf all the time, Perloff, and the differences and how they feel it in their legs and their knees. I mean, if you don't feel comfortable going full speed in a practice, you're at a disadvantage.
So, if I'm correct, what I'm hearing is you think the turf matters.
I do think it matters.
Well, then, when I say the Eagles lost last year's Super Bowl because of the turf, you have to agree with me now.
Both teams were playing in the same conditions on that field.
Whose pass rush was their number one strength was their pass rush. Who was neutralized on that field?
Okay, well, use different cleats, but at least that was even because the Chiefs and the Eagles were playing on the same field at the Super Bowl last year when guys were slipping and sliding. This is just the 49ers have to deal with this turf, whereas there's no problem for the Chiefs.
That is an important distinction.
Yeah.
Honestly, I do think the turf was a big deal. As for the Niners, though, a little adversity, I'm not changing my if I pick the Niners, I think like this is the kind of thing that a coach is used to get everyone fired up. It's funny. I was like, ooh, okay, the Niners are creating a narrative where they're kind of screwed over. It almost makes them tougher in a way. You know how it works. Anything that you expect to happen in a game, I think they can use this to their advantage. Also, too, it's not ballet, it's football. I hope they're tough enough to deal with too soft a field.
No, I know. I get it. We can make jokes about it, but I think it's the mental aspect. Do you feel like you can properly practice? Again, I'm not trying to make this into a huge thing, but I think for the team, if anything that disrupts your routine, we know how athletes and coaches are when it comes to this stuff, and you have really limited amount of practice time, not to mention all the other things you're getting pulled off to do.
No, this is the coaches getting us against them thing, too. Yeah, I think this is going to get them fired up. Listen, they could say we're getting screwed, and they're going to come out there angry. That's one thing that's sort of been lacking for the Niners. They don't really come out like mad, and I think their defense needs something. So maybe he's using that for that. You can't trust coaches, and I know what he was saying last night was the proper thing. But even these reports, I think coaches look for these. Remember, isn't that a famous Belichick thing? He's always looking for some angle. I'm not worried about this. I think the Niners. It's not going to affect the outcome at all on Sunday.
It might not affect the outcome. We'll see. I mean, it's definitely a disadvantage, though. If one team feels great about the practice facility and the other team doesn't. Now, they did think about, according to Schefter, now this is not something the NFL is saying. The NFL is saying we had 20 specialists go out and check the grass. I didn't even know you had 20 specialists in this field who could, no pun intended, who could come and check this out. They said the union was there. They've crossed all their T's and dotted I's. Everyone's fine with it. And then meanwhile, Schefter yesterday's on Pat McAfee saying, it's basically a 5-alarm fire behind the scenes with the 49ers and how ticked off they are about the situation.
Yeah, well, where's the
probably somewhere in the middle.
Where's the sod father?
I think they sent him to early retirement, which was, well, not early, he's 90, but they sent him to retirement, which is why we have all these issues now to begin with.
So we went to opening night, media night last night, and wasn't it funny? We walked right by the Super Bowl field.
Yeah, we did. They leave it outside, too.
Yeah.
It was outside and covered. Because it's been raining so much here in Vegas.
Right, and I think rain is good for grass, so I didn't quite understand. And then it's not
too much.
But it's not going to rain in the second half. So I think the NFL, the practice field is one thing. I was actually walked by, I'm like, oh my God, are they going to have another bad turf for the game? Why does this league, this billion-dollar league, have these issues? What's going on here?
The biggest thing, and we're talking about the 49ers are practicing at UNLV, which needed a new turf for the 49ers to be put in the practice facility, and the Niners are claiming it's too spongy and behind the scenes allegedly complaining that this is a disadvantage and they don't want to practice on this turf. But here's the thing. They are being exposed by soccer, I think, because the World Cup is coming to North America, and it's playing in all these football stadiums all over the country. And what are they saying? Well, we're putting in natural grass for this massive event. And I think the football players are saying, why can't you just leave the grass?
Yeah, it's funny, too, because Goodell, when that story came up, Goodell's like, we have data that players get injured at the same rate on turf and grass.
Got data for
which
everything.
Reminded me, yeah, exactly. Like, where are they getting this data? And I want this scientist to do my taxes because it sounds like how is that
data?
Possible? And
you think you're going back to the NFL and being like, actually, this is going to cost you billions of dollars to change. No. No one's giving the NFL bad news.
Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't say this. My wife works for a government agency. Don't trust data. All data is not.
Trust people. We're all data. Anti-establishment.
That's terrible. All data is not the same because that's ridiculous. We all know that the certain turfs are dangerous for players. I mean, we're in New York. That turf is crazy bad.
I just don't understand why they don't listen to the players on this one. It's like they did that
Money.
poll, The Athletic. They put out the poll. This is one of the number one issues with players. Their voice should matter here. And I don't know if that's the NFLPA having to step up or whatever, but it seems like it's top of mind for the athletes themselves. I'm not sure why it doesn't get paid more attention.
I mean, there are certain teams that seem to like the turf because they can run faster on
like
it.
the Cowboys?
Yeah, Cowboys like turf. Micah Parsons, I've seen his numbers are much worse on grass. It slows him down. But that's not a legit reason. You're right. If they're going to do this for soccer, NFL is making so much money right now. Do this, bring that turf in and out. But then again, even the grass, there seem to be, that's not that simple. We're seeing what's happening with the Niners. I don't trust that field that we saw last night. I think this is going to be an issue on Sunday.
Interesting. 855-212-4CBS.
Yeah.
You're welcome to weigh in. Poll question today. Does Patrick Mahomes need 7 titles to pass Tom Brady as the GOAT? Is it really just a legit ring chase? Is that what this whole conversation is going to be measured by? Because I think there a lot more is going to go in the conversation, just like we're having with LeBron and Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people want the newest guy to be GOAT all the time. So if he doesn't catch 7, he'll have someone on his tail by then. Anyway, whoever's good by the second half of his career, it's probably going to be Caleb Williams. Is he the GOAT? I just we have such a recency bias with the GOAT, and it's not just it's every position. Jerry Rice was the GOAT, but even lately, I've seen people questioning that and saying, which is funny. He was the original.
Me growing
GOAT.
up, it was always it was Joe Montana as the greatest quarterback ever, but the greatest football player ever was always some kind of Jerry Rice, Lawrence Taylor kind of conversation.
Jim Brown
for a long time.
But for some reason, Jerry Rice was the original GOAT.
Yes.
Like the only one we called GOAT was Jerry Rice. Do you remember that? I'm not sure why it was him over those other guys. But he was he was so far ahead of everyone at wide receiver. Yeah. But even lately, I've heard people kind of cooled on that.
Well, I think it's just been how we look at quarterbacks now.
Yeah.
I think that we have such a inflated value on the quarterback position. I don't know if it's even inflated. I mean, quarterbacks really do live and die with your quarterback if you're an NFL team. I think the way we kind of just view the game is so different now.
It's through the lens of the quarterback. You're so right. Like the whole history of the league, I feel like is going to be told through the quarterbacks, and that's why this quarterback matchup is so fascinating because you got Mahomes, who's getting comparisons to Brady, and we're talking about him with the GOAT conversation, or at least on the periphery of it, and then you got Brock Purdy, who's trying to become this great underdog story, has become a great underdog story.
But I have to insert the word system here because just going back to Montana, right? Isn't it? Do you guys find it strange coincidence that the greatest quarterback of all time, the greatest wide receiver, and the greatest offensive coach of all time happen to land in the same place at the same time?
Well,
yes, they're all working off each other, and that's why. And Mahomes is part of that too. I mean, he landed with Andy Reid. And Tom Brady was part of that because he landed with Bill Belichick. You need the right situations, and Purdy is obviously
in a very
system quarterback. So with this, all these GOAT conversations with football are tricky because of the team nature of the sport.
Okay, I'll agree with you about those other guys. I think about Mahomes. Of course, he is a great coach in Andy Reid, but I don't see that as system. And the reason why I don't is because Travis Kelce keeps getting open all these years later and everyone will tell you, he's not running traditional routes.
Yeah.
At least that's what they're saying. So they're doing this improvised kind of thing. It's the total opposite of a system.
I don't agree with that. I think it's Andy Reid. Andy Reid is working all. I understand what you're saying. Now, you're absolutely right.
Like
what you're saying.
they're
But
out there.
You're telling me this.
Catch.
It can't be a coincidence. I think Andy Reid is such a big part of this. I think it's a marriage of Mahomes and Reid.
Listen,
Every quarterback is good with Reid, and he is just great with Reid. And so I can't separate them. I just disagree with you, but I understand your point.
Can I flip this though?
Yeah.
I believe that you could put Mahomes with other coaches in the league, and they would be having this success.
I don't think so.
He's too good, Perloff. He's too good.
If he was the Chargers quarterback, 700 things would have gone wrong.
Well, I mean, I can't disagree with you about the Chargers. But what if I put him on the Ravens, if I put him on the Bills, if I put him on the teams that are right on the doorstep, if I put him on the Bengals, you don't think that he would be right here?
Nope. I don't think
I put him on the 49ers?
Well, 49ers maybe we say, but 49ers probably with Kyle Shanahan. But you just
if
first
I put him
said
with Mike McDaniel, you don't think that
well,
they're going to...
you're picking the top 4 franchises in the NFL.
Okay, but I'm saying that he could work. I know. But
put him in Chicago. Put him in...
I think he'd still win.
Put him in Jacksonville.
I think he'd still win with Doug Peterson.
You think he'd be on the brink of his 3rd ring? No.
With Doug? Why not? Doug is Andy Reid. They're the same. I mean,
3rd ring? Yeah, but there's a lot of other things there that are not the same.
That is true. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Does Mahomes need 7 titles to be considered the GOAT? Want to hear from you. Maggie Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She was the Heisman Trophy winner in 1986. He left her off the ballot. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. We're here, Radio Row, Mandalay Bay. It's all happening. And Perloff, we like to be even on this show. So if we interviewed a Kansas City Chiefs reporter, we want to get the 49ers point of view.
Right. We don't want to be like the NFL and have a clear Chiefs bias.
No, not us, not our show. David Lombardi is here. He covers the 49ers for The Athletic. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, it's great meeting both of you.
Listen, you are in the middle of a firestorm. I mean, really a hailstorm. And that is the conversation around Brock Purdy. of all the people, and never thought it would get this heated. When you look at Purdy and the conversation around him, what's fair and what do you think is unfair when we talk about Brock Purdy?
Well, like you said, this firestorm, to me, came out of nowhere in many ways. I'll tweet something after a game about Brock Purdy, and multiple national show talking heads will pick it up. And for some reason, it's this lightning rod. I don't know. It's because people might want – he must be drawing – a lot of clicks and a lot of interest and a lot of views, because otherwise I don't think people would be talking about him as passionately. But look at the facts of this situation. You've got a very low draft pick, the lowest that there could possibly be, pick number 262, at the helm of a good team. I get it. But all of the numbers, and I'm going deep into the efficiency numbers, top in the NFL. Historically good in some cases, right? I think the best comparison, and I wrote a big piece last week comparing this team to the greatest show on turf, Rams, who are a little bit more pass forward. This team is obviously a little bit more run forward, but a lot of the efficiency numbers are like Kurt Warner's, and Kurt Warner is reminded of himself in Brock Purdy in many ways. Schematically, again, things are different. Physically, things are different, but the extent to which the 49ers are producing offensively has been staggeringly high, to where I don't really think there should be a debate. I think that this is a quarterback who's performing at a top level, and he's shocking everybody in doing that. I don't understand why that's such a polarizing thing, right? Normally we've celebrated underdog stories.
I think
here it's controversial.
I think there's this idea out there that he throws a short pass to Debo or McCaffrey, and they
which
do
is
all
incorrect.
the work. Which I know he has a lot of air yards. But still,
Mahomes has a greater percentage of yak yards than Purdy.
Well, that's because Mahomes doesn't trust his receivers down.
No. Mahomes in his MVP years had a higher percentage of yak yards than Brock Purdy.
But Brock
this year.
Purdy, okay, just eyeballing, he doesn't really throw bombs. So how is he getting all these yards?
He does. He had a deep pass completion percentage of 64% this year, and he threw, I would say, 3 or 4 times as many. I could look at the numbers. As Jimmy Garoppolo, who wasn't throwing downfield. So I think a lot of the Garoppolo stereotype follows Purdy around. The 49ers' explosive pass rate was the second highest since 2000 this year. The highest since 2000 was the greatest show on turf.
Is
Rams.
Part of the strategy to throw it off an opponent's face mask on those long passes?
It's a great play.
No, but so I think there are a lot of stereotypes about the 49ers yak, and the two top yak-generating teams in the NFL, the 49ers and the Chiefs. It is that's the goal in NFL offense these days. Teams aren't as good at tackling as they used to be. The training camp rules and the contact rules, if you can get the ball to playmakers in space, you're going to pick up points, pick up yardage. And any quarterback that is not facilitating yak, I don't think is doing a good job. And that's why Mahomes and Purdy at the top of the league right now. But go and watch the tape. They have been pushing the ball downfield. That's what has opened up this offense in a way that they didn't have it open before.
David Lombardi is joining us from The Athletic. He covers the 49ers. We're talking about Brock Purdy right now and where to sort of put him on the spectrum of elite quarterbacks and how that's generated a lot of controversy, or not controversy, more of like a lightning rod sports discussion. So I'm one of the people who I'll tell you, this part of the Purdy conversation is what bothers me, the MVP stuff. So that's where I was like, all right, it feels like, and you look at the metrics, that McCaffrey is definitely carrying more than his share of the load. And more than that, I thought that putting Brock Purdy in the MVP debate is doing that thing we always do, which is elevating a guy way before he might be worth it, hyping him up just to tear him down later if he doesn't live up to this standard. Like, he got the whole world in a year and a half in the NFL, and that to me never squared.
Well, here's the thing. MVP is most valuable player. I think that Christian McCaffrey is definitely the best player on the 49ers. I think he might be the best player in the league. It then depends on what your definition or criteria for the MVP award is, and I think that's why it's gone to a quarterback in 10 straight years now. My opinion this year has been constant. They're both finalists, right? They're 2 of 5 finalists. I think Christian McCaffrey is the best player on the 49ers, but I also do think that Brock Purdy is the most valuable player on the 49ers.
Why?
I think those are two different things. You saw it last year in the NFC Championship game. The minute that he goes out, the entire offense collapsed. You have to be – in this offense, you have to make quick decisions to distribute the football. And as much as anybody wants to say that point guard is a pejorative term, I don't think it is. I think that's the role of the position. You have to be able to distribute, and if anybody could do it, then the 49ers would have been a whole lot better with Nick Mullins and C.J. Beathard. That's
it's
for sure.
funny about that. David Lombardi is here. He covers the 49ers for The Athletic. We do this thing on Thursdays on the show called the Multiverse of Maggie and Perloff. We do a what if and a what could have been. We go back and, like, if one sliding door had happened this way or that, how would sports have been different? Last week we did what if Trey Lance never got hurt? But you just gave me an idea, David. Maybe we should have done what if Josh Johnson had never got hurt in the NFC Championship game, and what would have happened there? But
it was already ugly when he was in.
No,
if you remember, that was a big drop-off in that NFC Championship
Yeah, I mean,
game,
I was at that game. The officials were terrified of the Eagles fans. I'm an Eagles fan. That would have been a tough game for anybody. But what about Trey Lance, though? Would he have ever been able to do what Brock Purdy's doing? So do Niners people just look back on that as a mistake?
I think, Niners fans or
Niners
people?
The front office. Shanahan and John Lynch, do they say picking Trey Lance number 3 overall was a mistake?
I think what they and the reason they built such a strong roster is they understand that the draft is a crapshoot, and the draft is like throwing darts up at a board, and with your earlier picks, you're going to be closer to the dartboard, and with your later picks, you're going to be further away. But even with the earlier ones, you're not guaranteed to hit that bullseye.
Yeah,
and
they paid a handsome price to try to get that close.
Yeah, and they got that close, and obviously Trey Lance is not with the team anymore, but then they hit the bullseye standing further back. And one thing about them is that their accuracy rate with those 4th to 7th rounders has been really good, which is, I think, that's a different story, testament to how well their scouting department and coaching staff works together. But, I mean, if you get tied up in one pick in the NFL, like, obviously it didn't work out. Like, I think everybody knows that. But if you get tied up, oh, my God, we lost all this draft capital in this one pick, I think you're losing picture of the big picture, which is it is a crapshoot, and it's the aggregate that counts in the draft.
I think that people look at the philosophy of that pick to have a running quarterback in that Shanahan offense. When you just said Brock Purdy's timing is the key, it's like it seems like they had the wrong philosophy around their quarterback choice.
So Shanahan's always going to be, you have to throw first, you have to win from the pocket, and the legs are a bonus. He thought that Trey Lance playing in a pro-style system at North Dakota State, which was the closest to what the 49ers run offensively. They were doing under center stuff. They were doing play action stuff. He thought that he would be moldable clay. He was very young.
Yeah.
He had only played a year, and Shanahan saw Trey Lance, and he's like, oh, my God. My dad coached John Elway. My dad coached Steve Young. These were two guys who had a lot of athleticism, but were moldable clay in that they were developed into pocket passers first. So they took a big swing on Trey Lance, and I think a lot of other teams were interested in doing that as well. They took a big swing by trading up because I think they thought the Falcons might pick him. I think the Falcons were right after the 49ers that year. And they thought that they, with development, working under Jimmy Garoppolo, what never was the plan to start him right away, would be able to turn him into that pocket passer that could also run. It wasn't a running quarterback first, if that makes sense. They thought that he had the potential to be that pro-style guy. Turns out that maybe he could have developed, but then Brock Purdy showed up the next year.
Yep, and here we are at the Super Bowl.
You know what's crazy is he can move too. He's got that burst, and you saw it in the NFC Championship game. So Shanahan now has the pocket-style quarterback that can also create out of structure in Brock Purdy.
David, can't tell you how much we appreciate this. David Lombardi, love reading him in The Athletic and covering the 49ers. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thanks.
A lot of discussion about Brock Purdy, Mahomes, the quarterbacks in this matchup, and appreciate David Lombardi. I mean, I appreciate also that he wanted to go down the Trey Lance rabbit hole with us. Obviously, we got into that last week, and a lot of fans in California were really into that conversation, though. What if Trey Lance had never gotten hurt? Would the 49ers still be in the Super Bowl? And that was interesting from Lombardi saying Mike Shanahan had John Elway and had Steve Young, and that's what Kyle Shanahan, that's why he was so tantalized by the idea of Trey Lance.
Do you believe, Lombardi, that the Niners are okay with that huge swing and a miss in the draft? That was interesting to me. Basically said that teams are aware they're going to miss on draft picks. It's sort of a math game where you have to get 70% of them. But that was such a huge deal to move up. I actually think the fact that they're in the Super Bowl, I think they're okay with that. I mean, you can't argue with the success they've had.
Yeah, because they went to the NFC Championship game last year and the Super Bowl this year. If they had not been enjoying this type of success, I think that's the kind of thing that rips apart front offices. That's the kind of stuff that gets people fired. I mean, it's. I know we're seeing it a little with the New York Jets and Joe Douglas, but it's rare to miss that badly on a quarterback as a GM or a coach and still get to keep your job. So it's a credit to the 49ers that they've overcome that, and Brock Purdy popping is the reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the path that a GM normally would follow. Hey, I'm going to move up to number 3, take a quarterback, and then a year later find the guy in the 7th round. Reminds me a little bit. Remember the Washington team took RG3
and Kirk Cousins,
number 2, and then they're like, well, let's take this guy in the 4th round to be his backup. And everyone's like, what are you doing? Drafted 2 quarterbacks, and of course it worked out where Cousins had the much longer shelf life than RG3.
You know, another thing, we're here on Radio Row, Mandalay Bay Convention Center. It's a little bit of this Super Bowl is kind of a, I don't know, 2 ways to wildly and differently build your roster. Now, again, the 49ers got a little lucky on this one that Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, who's making $800,000, ended up being so good. However, you have the Chiefs who are kind of doing this in a little bit more conventional way, right? You have Patrick Mahomes. His big contract takes up a lot of the salary cap, but he's an all-time great player, and you sort of build around that. Big, high-priced defensive end, high-priced tackle, stuff like that. And then you have the 49ers who all of those things, tackles, defensive ends, but with a quarterback that is not taking up any kind of money. And, we talk about guys who draft quarterbacks all the time. Your Philadelphia Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts when they had already paid Carson Wentz. We talked about this with our boss at the time, Spike Eskin. He said if he was a GM, he would just draft quarterbacks all the time.
Yeah.
Just keep drafting them so you never have to pay a guy.
Right, so you can pay at other positions.
Yeah. If Brock Purdy wins the Super Bowl, I know he's in line after next year to get this big raise, but...
Well, I mean, I think, first of all, this Chiefs thing, it's not like it's been that easy. They had to let Tyreek Hill go.
Sure.
And their offense is slowed down. They had to let Orlando Brown go a tackle, and their tackles they're an adventure. Their tackles are... Who the heck knows what's going to happen on Sunday?
Yep.
If they lose on Sunday, it's going to be they have 9 holes. So it's not like I think that's why if the Chiefs could have kept all their players, they would be a dynasty. They'd be the Pittsburgh Steelers. They would win 4 in a row. But so I do think you have a really good point. Paying Mahomes does affect what we're seeing on the field. The Niners. I think the Niners are I think everyone wants to copy the Niners when they're building a team, right? I heard that the Lions are the Lions JV. I'm sorry, the Detroit Lions are particularly modeled after the Niners. Everyone is watching them and saying, wow, this is the best front office.
Yeah.
The Rams are now doing a lot of Niners stuff, too. I think the Niners have it figured out.
Yeah, the Niners' investment on the defensive line has been massive, which is odd because they have trouble stopping the run, which is weird, especially lately. That has not been a season-long problem. That has been a more recent problem.
Yeah, I mean, that's been weird. That actually massive. They paid Javon Hargrave $84 million this offseason. I think that's been a failure, that massive investment. And Chase Young, I think, has been a failure, too, bringing him in from Washington.
Yeah.
So, but their ability to find guys later in the draft is pretty amazing. I mean, listen, Debo was not a first-rounder. Kittle was a fifth-rounder. McCaffrey was different. They did pay for him. But I think that's what if you can't get a cheap quarterback, then you better, as Lombardi said, you better hit in the later rounds. And they've been amazing at that.
855-212-4CBS. Andrea is in the Bay Area, wants to jump on the line. Good morning, Andrea. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
We're doing great. How you feeling about your 49ers?
Oh, pretty good, actually. I just did a podcast about them, and I'm feeling pretty good. I like Brock Purdy. He's kind of the underdog in some way, Mr. Irrelevant. And his chances look really good. I think I mentioned Sun in Aquarius to his Mars, and that's really important for an athlete. Rules energy, assertion, and aggression. Jupiter, planet of expansion, abundance, to his Saturn, planet of career. So, this is what he's been waiting for. So I'm really liking his energy, and he's very humble. We talked about Capricorn being understated, Virgo moon being very humble. And to your point about Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, Patrick is September 17, 1995, Tyler, Texas. And as you know, Tom Brady's a Leo. And they thrive on appreciation, Leos, king of the zodiac. And Patrick, they just asked him that question that you brought up about how would he feel about, being called the GOAT, the greatest of all time. And he actually said he hadn't put a lot of thought into it. And I believe that. I think that he's really...
Andrea, sorry to cut you off. What sign is Mahomes?
Mahomes is a Virgo.
Okay.
But I thought you just said that they want appreciation. So doesn't that mean...
No, that's Leo.
Oh, that's Tom.
Brady.
So
Tom
Mahomes
Brady.
does not have that. Got it. Sorry.
Yeah, no, Tom Brady, the king of the zodiac, they thrive on appreciation.
Got it.
So Leos run that energy of really a little more flamboyant, a little more dramatic, certainly, liking to be the center of attention.
We all know Brady, all about himself.
Yeah.
Funny, famously, he was always the opposite, at least publicly. Andrea, so you said Mahomes is a Virgo?
Yeah, September 17th, my Virgo birthday twin. Different year, but September 17th. And, he has a strong chart. The only thing is Neptune's opposing his sun, which can be confusing. And you may have heard his dad was arrested on a DUI.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, the sun is solar energy, rules the father, so he's dealing with that. But it sounds like his dad will be at the Super Bowl.
Wow.
And Patrick is having some positive Mars aspects, some vitality and self-confidence, but also some confusion mixed in. So I definitely want to mention kind of a mixed bag for him. But as a general
secondary.
rule, as a general
secondary.
Yeah, as a general rule, though, Virgos are very practical, down to earth, very meticulous, dutiful, humble, certainly disciplined. So he's got that detailed energy. And as we were saying, Leos they thrive on attention and appreciation, much more. What's the word? They kind of need that domineering energy, almost a little superiority complex, kind of grandiose.
Man, this is making me look at Tom Brady in a totally different light. Andrea, thank you so much for the time. Enjoy your 49ers in the Super Bowl, right? I mean, Brady, the guy who was constantly humbled by Belichick, Belichick in every film session saying Foxborough High School quarterback could have made that throw, not you.
Yeah.
Never gave him the game ball.
I'm not just. I mean, I understand what Andrew's saying, but I think I buy the humble act with Brady. I mean, he was a 6th-round pick.
No, she's saying adulation, that he wants to be the center of attention.
Yeah, I don't.
You think he's going against his son?
No, I think as a player, he was not. He was famously not about me. He was about the team. I believe that. Maybe I'm a sucker.
Maybe we all got by Tom Brady, and this has just been one big, facade he was putting on. Meanwhile, on the inside, he just wants all the cameras. I
mean, listen, he famously was, even when he became a superstar, a world famous guy. I think he still was a pretty good team guy. And by the way, do you agree that Mahomes and Purdy are humble? I totally agree with that, and I think there's reasons for it too. Purdy, obviously, Mr. Irrelevant. I think he's known that Mahomes was not like a golden star as a child. I think he came up from kind of nowhere as well. I believe that humility thing with both these quarterbacks as well.
Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
You and I will have this discussion until we're 90 years old. These guys are all stone cold killers underneath. You can be humble in the media. You can be humble outside. You can be humble even in your personal life, but on the football field and in their role as quarterback. I mean, Kyle Shanahan said, even Brock Purdy, super confident, borderline on cocky. That's his own coach when they asked, how is Brock here? How is he, succeeding? I think Mahomes, you can say all the right things and you can have the right spirit, but once they're on that field, these guys have to be so sure of themselves or else they would never meet the moment.
Yeah, see, I think it's not humble might not be the word. Humility is the word. I think they understand that, the opposite of grandiose. They understand, hey, we're lucky to be here. I think I'm having trouble describing exactly, but there is a humility that is very common among great athletes. Steph Curry, I think, believe it or not.
Don't say MJ. Do not, or I'm going to have to leave.
Yeah, no, there's a humility. MJ totally,
humility with Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan was defined by the way he came up. He was JV and junior,
and he used that as a chip to try to bring on all comers.
If you think of all the great athletes, they all overcame sort of tough situations. Nobody except for, Trevor Lawrence had everything handed to him on a silver spoon. He was the real deal from 9th grade. That is not the way it happens. All the great athletes came from humble beginnings. And I think that humility.
You think of Michael Jordan punching a teammate in practice showed that he was had a lot of humility?
The single most important thing in Michael Jordan's career is the fact that he didn't make varsity in high school. That was
that's part of his origin story, but he found a slight with everything. If it hadn't been that, I don't even know if that story's true, by the way. I know it is, but I wouldn't be surprised at this point if it's just made up. That he would have found a slight with every single person.
Because that's humility. Yeah, exactly. He's always that underdog. He always understands that, listen, I'm the guy who has to outwork everybody. Otherwise, I'm not going to make it.
Wait, hold on. No. This Michael
That's Jordan to the T.
Humility is not, I'm going to go to the ends of the earth to shove this in your face and prove you wrong.
Yeah.
How is that humility? I don't think that beats our Merriam-Webster's definition of the word.
The humility of Michael Jordan is like he never said, I'm a star, this is handed to me. He was the opposite. He's like,
no, he worked for it, yes, but
he didn't just work for it.
He
Like he was
cocky.
upset. See, I don't think he was cocky. I think he was confident. Cocky implies that you don't actually back it up. He was that kid who got cut from JV throughout his whole career. That's why he never let go. It didn't matter if he was playing that weird security guard in the dock.
Yeah.
He was always that kid who was not good enough. That's what.
Okay, that's inferiority complex. That's not a humility thing.
But it's a humility. It's humility if you could be the best player in the world and still outwork everyone on your team. There's a humility in that.
I guess, but is it a humility to be in an Atlantic City casino until 3 o'clock in the morning and then go play a playoff game and then?
Well, I mean, he's also a gambling addict.
Well,
I mean, that
I'm
plays
just saying.
into it.
There's nothing. When I think of an athlete who displays humility, Michael Jordan does not come to mind.
Understand what you're saying.
He was, I'm going to bury you. I'm going to bury you again. Then I'm going to embarrass you. Then I'm going to embarrass you again to make sure you never forget this moment in time when I, Michael Jordan, embarrassed you.
So, but humility in the sense that I'm the best player in the world. I'm not going to act like it. To me, like Michael Jordan carried around that kid who didn't get on the varsity team his entire life. Steph Curry.
This has got to be a poll question.
Yeah.
Do you consider Michael
I
Jordan
don't think you guys,
a humble athlete?
But yeah, I'm not sure you guys understand the difference between humble and humility.
No,
they're
I
totally
understand
different qualities
hard
altogether.
work. I get it.
Yeah.
Still feeling like you need to outwork your opponent, but I don't see Michael Jordan as displaying humility in the way he carried himself.
I almost feel like the way you're describing humility, it almost makes me sound. He sounds driven. I don't think that's humility. Like he was driven to be the best. So
he's
that's
not taking things for granted.
Right.
He
So
wants
he's
to
not taking
play
things for
every
granted.
night.
He's
That
not-
kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but
I don't. Yeah, I don't go to humility with him.
Well-
only because of what Maggie was mentioning, all the ways he will remind you. I heard a story earlier where he walked in the gym and Byron Scott was hurt and he's like, "Who's guarding me tonight?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Anthony Peeler." He's like, 50.
Jordan's a tough one.
And then told him he's gonna get 50 on the court and then got 50.
Jordan's a tough one, but Brady is the classic example. Brady is still that 6th-round pick to this. Watch the way he's preparing for Fox. He's not preparing like a guy with 7 rings. He's preparing like a guy who lost his starting job in Michigan. There's just a common quality among all these guys. Aaron Rodgers is the guy who got no scholarship offers, and that is who these guys are. And that's who I think Mahomes and Purdy, like they do not. Do you think they're cocky or confident?
We're going to have to take a
Yeah,
break. We'll answer that question. We want you to be in on this question. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. The greatest athletes and humility. Those things go together. Not to me, but to Perloff, definitely. Give us a call, 855-212-4CBS. Coming up, we've got your Super Bowl Bulletin, the news you need to know before the big game. Don't move. It's Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff, live from Radio Row here in Las Vegas. Going to be honest, a little quiet now. You don't hear that din in the background of superstars walking around because we're early, but...
Wait, can I tell you what I just saw in the ladies' room?
Oh, no.
It wasn't me, because I didn't walk
No,
in this
EJ
time.
didn't walk in the ladies' room today. Thankfully, you got it right now. Somebody was asleep in one of the stalls.
What?
Like laying on the ground. It is early here.
I want to call security.
I kind of get it. I think
In
it was
Radio Row?
It was a security person.
Oh, wow.
Not naming any. I have no idea who it was, but I could see the color of their jacket.
I got to tell you.
Like, I've never thought to lay down in a bathroom stall. You must really be sleepy.
I want to say something nice about Mandalay Bay Convention Center here in Las Vegas. Very nice bathrooms.
Yes,
They're sometimes Media Row bathrooms are kind of a mess. This one is so far so good.
Vegas killing it in the bathrooms.
Can I be that guy?
Yeah.
And I hope Andrew Bogus is not listening. My hotel room, not ideal. What's
the matter? You got weird stains?
Well, I have 3 hangers for everything. And
how are you going to live?
I walked around with other reporters last night. They're like, yeah, I don't have any hangers either. And for some reason, I can't bring myself to call the front desk and say, could I have some more hangers?
I'm going to just they're never coming.
But you guys, that's the other thing.
You really can't complain about hangers. You can complain about a leak. You can complain about noisy neighbors. You can complain about weird smells. You can complain about weird hair.
I got
stuff
all
like
that. All that.
Hangers, you really can't complain about.
Well, yeah. So the neighbors are basically in my room. I don't even understand what's going on.
You
there.
live with them now.
Yeah, It's hard to sleep. Yes, I don't know. Is anyone cleaning any of the rooms?
No.
Am I gonna have to clean my own room here? So, God, am I the worst? I'm just the worst. And it was raining all day yesterday.
Bogish may have just gotten up and walked out.
Yeah.
Are you there, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm fine. This is a real problem. I would need many hangers too, so I actually have sympathy for you here.
Wow, the sarcasm is dripping from
No,
your voice.
that's a true set. I'm a big ironing guy. Like, you need hangers. This is a call you need to make, or I'd go buy some.
I could tell. That was genuine.
Where, Target? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm assuming they have stores in Vegas. Go buy a handful of hangers for $3, and there you go.
Bogus. I know we are in New York, but it'll cost you 3 times as much to buy hangers here than in New York.
Yeah.
The prices are
outrageous.
Can I ask you a question, Bogus? Have you ever had this problem? I used the iron yesterday in my hotel room on a green sport jacket that I wore to opening night, and Maggie also was wearing a green sport jacket, which was kind of weird. But
we didn't plan it, but people thought we did.
And anyway, I think there was something on the iron that stained my jacket that I'm now going to have to throw out, and that happens to me in hotels all the time.
I'm telling you guys, can I just give you the life hack of all life hacks?
Yeah.
You got to get on board with the steamer.
I know. I actually was going to call you and say, can I borrow that steamer again? But I do that every Super Bowl.
And every road trip we go on, multiple drafts, everywhere we go, you're like, can I borrow that steamer
So
again?
last night,
I'm
I'm sitting in my hotel room. I'm like, I'm actually going to use this iron. And then I'm like, was that big white dot there yesterday? So I think I ruined my sport jacket. I'm actually really sad about it because I love that jacket.
It's like, was this sticky gum? Has that been on this the whole time?
Yeah. And you
Can't
know
trust the iron.
You know how you press that button that the steam comes out of the iron? You never know what's going to come out of a hotel iron.
It's like a cigarette smoke.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that's the other thing getting used to. I just, for so much of our lives, just people don't smoke inside. And the ventilation is good. But it's like, oh yeah, Vegas, you can't smoke indoors here.
Yeah. By the way,
that we walk through to get in.
It's wild. I think maybe the trip to San Antonio, Victor Wembanyama wins Rookie of the Year, is back on. Now that I know that Bogus respects the need to hang up clothes in a hotel room.
No, this is terrible for you guys. How are you going to split all those hangers? It's
that's
going to be
a good
fight to the death. Bogus a big hang.
He just said he would go out and
upper.
buy his own on the road. I mean, this is a man who's going to find hangers.
Bogus, before we get to you, let's quickly do our Super Bowl bulletin. Okay. Quick news from yesterday regarding the Super Bowl. Obviously, fans got some got agitated because there were a couple games this year that were streaming only. And obviously, we're used to Amazon, doing Thursday night, but Peacock and the Peacock only streams, especially in the playoffs. Roger Goodell says the Super Bowl will not be streamed as long as he's commissioner. Let's put that caveat in. Yeah. Super Bowl will not be streamed, but as far as other playoff games and games being streamed, he basically said, listen, this is the way of the future, and we're not going to turn down the money. I paraphrase that.
We talked to LA Times' Sam Farmer yesterday who asked that question. He said an important caveat. He read into the way Goodell said that will not be streamed while I am the commissioner, which might be a year or two more. Or what's his extension? Like 3 years at the most? So that means within 4 years, it's a whole new ballgame. Sam did say that the numbers blew them away from the streaming this year, that the trend is going to be much more streaming, which sucks.
I know. I love how Goodell is like, listen, we have to meet our customers where they are. Yeah. I'm like, I don't think they were there. I think we all went there to watch that Chargers game.
Did you read when Goodell said the Super Bowl will not be streamed when I'm commissioner? While I'm commissioner, I read that as like, I am never going to allow. But I think he was saying while I'm commissioner, so the next guy in 3 years might have a different opinion.
And I actually wonder if he's getting pressure from the NFL owners to go to streaming, because maybe this will be something he's saying, look, this is something I fought them on, and I'm not fighting them anymore on this. So,
well, Peacock paid them $100 million for one playoff game, right. Chiefs-Dolphins. It's wild, the money. So if you guys know, in media circles, it's a really famous name. John Skipper ran ESPN for a long time and now works with Dan Le Batard's show and Meadowlark, and said he thought and he believes that at one point in the not-too-distant future, the Super Bowl will be a pay-per-view event.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, he's got more media experience than all of us combined. Okay, back to Bogish. Headlines. Hello, sir.
Hello again. So basically anybody's allowed into Super Bowl media night, from dudes that cry in the Elvis Chapel to 11-year-old phenom journalists. You might have heard of Jeremiah Fennell before. He was working last night for NFL Network. Here's his backstory.
Well, I started to do this at the age of 7 years old because I wasn't able to play sports due to some medical issues, but I still liked the sports environment, so I decided to hone my craft in journalism at the age of 7, and I started my YouTube channel. And yes, I do think that I can keep this as a career because I do still love the sport and I do know a lot about it, so I think that interviewing people could be a long career for me.
This kid's the best. All my media friends, I think even you guys taking pictures being like 7, 8, 9 layers of people removed from the podium. He's getting on the podium, one-on-ones, particularly last night with the 2 tight ends that'll play on Sunday. He went rapid fire with George Kittle, asking who was better in certain things, him or Travis Kelce.
Sunday, February 11th, 2024, right here in Allegiant Stadium. 65,000 roaring fans in attendance and tens of millions of fans watching at home.
Yeah.
Whose significant other is going to get more attention during the game than the actual player?
And then it was Trav's turn.
So one thing that I noticed about you is that whether you're on the field or the sidelines, you bring all the energy to the team. You're like the life of the party. You seem like you would be the type of person to enjoy my city. So my final question to you is, what are some of the funnest things you've done in Vegas so far?
This kid's 11. He's tiny. Wow. He's wearing a shirt and a tie. I couldn't do that 4 times his age. He's on the stage with Travis Kelce, surrounded by all the media and the cameras, and he just kept asking perfect question after perfect question. He's the best.
Get out of here. Why are you guys supporting this kid?
What?
Screw this kid.
Oh, my God.
As I said,
Screw this kid and Mark.
Yeah, I'll tell you why.
Just clip that.
So
No
I'm
context.
hosting with Maggie tomorrow from radio.
Don't tag me in that.
No,
I said
tell you.
Sirianni's kids, not this kid I love.
Maggie remembers
this kid earned it.
When we were at Sports Illustrated, the day Pablo Torre walked in, I'm like, screw him. I hate people who are way younger than me and talented. Why you would support young and
Even
talented
11-year-olds?
Why you would support younger and talented people who are going to take your job? I don't understand. Like, that dude's better than me at 11. Why would I support him? Why would I be a fan of him? I have to openly hate him.
Wait, so can I add a little more context to this kid? Because we've seen him now for a couple Super Bowls, and he does a great job. He also has no notes.
Right.
So all those questions he's asking and all the the stuff that he's clearly like rehearsed it, but no notes.
Another reason not to like him.
Honestly, though, I think his age helps him there. Because I think as you get older, your memory loses. You got to write down as much stuff as you can. At least I know I do.
Amen.
So I think that's something where it's almost like a performance enhancer of being that young.
His memory is all fresh. It's not clogged with like random NFL and baseball stats
Well,
and
like
weird
for me,
stuff.
like
we're never
rap
gonna
lyrics
need.
from 2005 that I can remember easily, but can't remember what I did for breakfast. You know?
I don't know why people in this industry always say like, "Oh, it's important to me to pass along my knowledge to younger people." No. You pass along the knowledge. If you find, if you're, I know EJ, you teach a class. If you see a kid who has no talent at all, give him all the advice. But if you see the talented kid, all you say, get out of this industry now as fast as you can. There are only limited number of jobs here. People got to smarten up and stop supporting this kid. Come on, Bogus.
You know what? Someone had to say it.
Yeah.
Perloff apparently.
No, I'm the only honest person in this industry. Screw that kid.
You know what? You deserve no hangers.
I think now Bogus doesn't want to go to San Antonio.
Absolutely
the tables
not.
have turned now.
Nope.
It's no longer Perloff saying Bogus isn't allowed.
And remember, that kid said this is his city, so you better watch out.
Screw this kid.
He said you're in my city, so.
No, if that kid comes after me, I have no chance. Forget it.
You wonder how you're going to get canceled.
I'm not going to. No.
This is how it happened.
I mean, I just can't stand people who are that young and that talented. They're the worst. Screw this kid.
Yes.
Oh God! I mean, come on, leave some for us old people. Come on, don't be better than us. Screw this kid, jerk.
And his YouTube channel, which I'm sure has
which
hundreds
is
of
probably
thousands
incredibly entertaining. The worst.
You got anything else? How you gonna top that?
Another Harbaugh is making the move to the NFL. Jim's son Jay is now the Seahawks special teams coordinator. He had that same job for his dad the last 5 seasons at Michigan. And he worked with new Seattle head coach Mike McDonald, both in Ann Arbor and in Baltimore.
Yeah, he really did a bang-up job, too, by almost costing him the semifinal.
Screw this kid.
Now that... I mean, didn't everyone think before we knew that Jay Harbaugh was the special teams coach at Michigan, didn't everyone think, oh, that special teams coordinator is getting fired at halftime? And then you look up, it's like, oh, it's Jay Harbaugh. Never mind.
That is the way this industry works.
Oh, man, I feel bad for the
We had
Seahawks,
Steve
man.
Belichick yesterday. Now this guy.
Yeah.
Klay Thompson was not on the floor as the Warriors closed out a 109-98 win in Brooklyn last night. Other guys just playing better right now. Steve Kerr on trying to get Klay right again.
You know, I'd like to get some of our depth back so that we can, give him a little more rest and, maybe not play him on some back-to-backs. Try to, ease the load that he has.
Klay talked about this as well post-game. The audio quality is not good enough to play, but the dude's heartbroken. He looked it. You could hear it in his voice. He knows he's not good enough right now, and he does not like sitting on the bench when the game matters.
Screw this guy. No, I'm just kidding.
Another wildly talented kid at one point.
Yeah.
This is gonna be one of the most awkward, I think, free agencies we've seen in a while.
Oh,
this
Klay.
is a legend. This guy's a multiple-time champion, multi-time All-Star, and I don't know what kind of offers he's going to get this offseason.
No, but I mean, that is going to be one thing. But the running mate, and I know Klay is an amazing all-time player. I'm not trying to marginalize him that he's just Steph's running mate, but he was the 1A.
The Sixers, I think he could be
Great question, Bogish, from Mr. Bandwagon. Thank you for clarifying that, because you never know. Perloff could be talking about, the Lower Marion High.
Right. He can't go to the Houston Cougars next year, just so you know.
That's not funny. Screw bogus.
Salty Perloff.
I'm a little tired. Yeah, don't mess with me. But I got to be honest. If Klay doesn't have to be a 3 or 4, he could be your little sniper off the bench, late Ray Allen style, sign me up.
Bugs, anything else, sir?
No, I'm good for now.
I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
We've got a lot more coming back, including a coaching question that is looming over this game and season. We'll get to that in just a moment. It's Maggie and Perloff. We are live from the Mandalay Bay Convention Center. You also are welcome to go and vote on our poll question for today. It's about Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. The question: does Patrick Mahomes need 7 Super Bowl titles to pass Tom Brady as the GOAT? Is this simply a ring chase, or can Mahomes' other attributes, the athleticism, other things, push him past Brady? You're welcome to go vote. Again, you can call us 855-212-4CBS. Don't move. More Maggie and Perloff in just moments.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right, the Defensive Player of the Week is sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union, who proudly serves the Armed Forces, DoD, veterans, and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. Defensive Player of the Week. Okay.
By the way, props to Carlos on the Shakira. That's a cool track. Anyway, we're doing Super Bowl halftime show music.
Oh,
sorry,
right.
defensive player. I don't want to get distracted.
Okay, so I've been spending a lot of time with EJ, and I understand the kind of sports he's been consuming.
You guys have spent more time together than, like, we're all kind of, all three of us are spending a lot of time together, which is great. But you two were on the same flight, and you had all these flight issues.
Well, no, the flight was great. We landed an hour early, but we couldn't get out of the airport because no cars were allowed to leave because Joe Biden was landing.
Right, so you spend 2 hours in the airport just, arguing about basketball.
So I think I have an edge on Navy Federal Defense Player of the Week.
I see the floor to you.
So it is a complicated one, a controversial one, if you will. Because I know that he's dying to give Stanford center Cameron Brink is her name, Defensive Player of the Week. And she's had, just looked it up, 15 blocks in her last 2 games.
Oh, wow.
The issue is that she let Juju on USC score 51 points. So you can't give it to her. Otherwise, she's a blocking machine. So I think he went the other side, men's basketball. Zach Edey, who's 3 blocks for Purdue, led them past Wisconsin on Saturday. I think Zach Edey is your Defensive Player of the Week.
Interesting choice, Maggie. Do you have a pick here?
How am I going to top that?
So this week's Defensive Player of the Week is DeMario Davis, who was the MVP of the Pro Bowl.
What?
Get out of here.
MVP.
Was he really?
He was the defensive MVP.
The score was 62-54.
I know, but he was the defensive MVP of the Pro Bowl. Now, look, they don't keep any defensive stats in the Pro Bowl, so I don't know how they judged that. But
EJ, it's flag football.
And
it's the only football game we have, and we're in a football venue. So I felt like it was important to do football. Look, I thought about Nick Claxton last night. He had 7 blocks, but he also got ejected. And I didn't want to give Bogus the satisfaction of giving him a net, especially a guy who got thrown out of the game. So I had to disqualify Nick Claxton. So I'm like, well, what happened with football? I was like, all right, we had a game. A game was played. It was a flag football game.
An exhibition. Perloff laid out that case for Defensive Player of the Week like you were up in the courtroom.
Well,
like, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I know the defendant.
Well, it's time for us to up our game. Now, once football goes away next week, you're going to have to get weird with Defensive Player of the Week. You're going to have to go to hockey goalies. Yeah,
I've been doing the NBA guys during week 8 of the NFL season. You've been giving me crap for it every week.
Oh, look who's getting defensive right now. Maybe EJ, the defensive producer of the week here.
A new award that we're going to be giving out.
EJ and I have been. I mean, we just don't see eye to eye on basketball in any sense of the word.
No, you won't.
It made it for a long stay in Las Vegas. Like, I'm sure people were like, "Why are these two people fighting over Jalen Brunson? Who cares?"
Overhearing you. So it's only a 5-hour flight. This is another thing I know you guys don't see eye to eye on, and I don't know if any of us have the same opinion about this, a football-related thing, which is why the Washington Commanders decide to go with Cliff Kingsbury as the offensive coordinator and passing over Eric Bieniemy, who had the job. I think there's a lot of people out there who appreciate what Cliff Kingsbury did in college, even if he didn't have a winning program, understand that he's a good offensive mind. But why he would get this over Bieniemy, and Dan Quinn said, this is what it is.
Yeah, I get it.
Don't kind of understand what do they see in Cliff Kingsbury that you don't see in Bieniemy?
It's not about that. It's about you're Dan Quinn. You're taking over. Why would you want a force like Eric Bieniemy on your staff? You have to establish your identity as a head coach. You don't need a guy with a bunch of Super Bowl rings who's this, very successful offensive coordinator who's not you. It's like when you're president, you don't want a vice
So you
president.
think this is an ego move?
Not an ego move. I think it was a job security, and he's got to be the voice for this team. And you can't be the voice for this team when you have Eric Bieniemy there.
Okay, but
I think he needed to bring in a lesser offensive coordinator. I'm being dead serious.
I know, but that logic is super flawed because the only way that you are going to avoid having this person take your job is by winning games. They don't fire winning head coaches to just elevate the offensive coordinator. Your offense coordinator might leave and go to another job, but you're not getting fired because you picked right on a coach. Who's better for the team? Is it Bieniemy or Kingsbury?
But why would he? I mean, it's not like he's inheriting Bieniemy, though. You want your own. You want guys that are loyal to you. I do think there is something organizationally about having everything funnel straight to the head coach. And Eric Bieniemy is already there. It's established stuff with the players. It just doesn't work from a leadership standpoint to me. The other thing too is Cliff. I mean, now everyone kind of assumes that Washington's going to get Jaden Daniels at number 2. It feels like Cliff and that kind of spread offense would be a good fit for him. Bieniemy as well. But I think that seems like a great marriage. A guy like that is born to play in a Kingsbury offense.
Okay, but I mean, I guess, but I also don't think that Eric Bieniemy can only play one way. Number one, I think that a good coach tailors his stuff to the players that he has on the field, and that was a little bit of a criticism of Bieniemy, like, oh, you're having Sam Howell run Patrick Mahomes stuff. But for a while, Sam Howell could actually execute a lot of that. They had a good start of the season, and then it sort of tailed off at the end.
Yeah, I mean...
But I think Bieniemy could show you a little more. I was surprised that Kingsbury keeps getting hired when he has no results to show for it.
All the offensive players would go straight to Bieniemy with everything. Why would Quinn want that?
Interesting. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Okay, we get back into the quarterbacks playing in the Super Bowl. Will Brock Purdy shed the whole game manager nickname and moniker with a Super Bowl win? Get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's a violin prodigy. Her full name is Maggie the Stallion. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Can Brock Purdy become more than a game manager, system quarterback if he wins a Super Bowl? Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We're at the Mandalay Bay Convention Center in Las Vegas, site of Super Bowl 58. Counting down Perloff. We're talking a lot about the quarterbacks.
Yep.
Last night was opening night, which meant everybody was meeting the media. The Blue Man Group was there. Some other crazy things were going on. But in the middle of all that, there were legit questions about legacies and what's at stake for Brock Purdy.
Yeah, was that definitely the Blue Man Group, or was it just three guys all in blue? Anyway,
it's a good question.
I mean, listen, this Super Bowl, all the experts are saying it comes down to who can establish a run. Is it going to be the Niners or the Chiefs? So there's a chance that it's not going to be a big quarterback game either way. But there's also a real chance that Brock Purdy is going to have 350 yards of passing. And if he does that and they win the game, I'm sorry, the game manager label and all that is gone. And I don't even know if it'll come back. And the big contract is coming, and he's in the star category.
Okay, I think that a lot of people have already made up their mind about Brock Purdy. Now, that doesn't mean it can change, and that doesn't mean that new information doesn't change things, can change your opinion. If Brock Purdy is the offensive force and of them winning the Super Bowl, then yes, obviously he's going to shed that. All the labels, the Mr. Irrelevant thing goes out the window. Everything is now Brock Purdy. Is he tier 1? Is he tier 2? I mean, we elevate the conversation in a different way. If this game, though, goes like the other playoff games have gone, where Brock Purdy doesn't play that well in the first half and then has to come back, or if Christian McCaffrey really is the star of the show and he's the Super Bowl MVP or something like that, then this Brock conversation is going to still continue to happen. A lot of it has to do with how he plays, which is exactly how this conversation should go down. It should be about how he performs on the field, because that's what this is about, isn't it?
Well, no, it's not, because the way he's performed on the field is star level, and there should be no question. If you actually just look, if again, I always say this, he was the number 1 overall pick like Baker Mayfield, and he went out and had that season that he had, there would be no doubt he'd be the guy. Show him the $300 million contract, $50 million a year. It's that draft label. And it's also a little bit, as you pointed out, Kyle Shanahan has had a wandering eye around quarterbacks. So maybe that conversation will come back. But I don't think so. I think even a bad performance, they are sold on this guy. And the success, if you're just going on the field, the success is unquestioned. I'm just looking, and this strikes me as funny, and tell me if it does you too. The over-under on who will have more yards in the Super Bowl passing. Patrick Mahomes is set at 260.5, and Brock Purdy's at 246.5. I feel like Purdy's going to be throwing more because all Kansas City wants to do is control the ball like they did against Baltimore.
Well, I think this also has to do with how do we think this game's actually going to go and flow? Do we think that Kansas City, like they did against Baltimore, get out to a big lead and then try to play conservatively to sit on it? Or do we think, and is it going to go like the San Francisco 49ers 2 playoff games,
exactly,
where they're coming from behind from deficits both big and small in the second half?
That's why I think the game flow could set up for Purdy gets this star turn. And if he's cool in the fourth quarter, I'm going to be totally honest. It took me years to adjust to Tom Brady being that good. I wrote this column that I became somewhat famous for at SI, saying Tom Brady's a system quarterback.
Yeah, it's been called your worst take ever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a high bar.
Although
I've had some bad ones.
You just said that 11-year-old kid reporter should be shunned.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Screw that kid.
Yeah.
Anyway,
don't need kids coming to take our job.
Yeah.
Screw this kid.
All of them. Yeah.
That's an opinion of
I think
Perloff
he's number
only,
1 on my list too, because he seems really good. Anyway, the better they are, the more I hate
ranked.
them.
Ben Simmons and then this.
And then this 11-year-old reporter.
This crap is crap.
Yeah.
EJ drop.
But I'm lost here. What was? Brock Purdy.
Yeah, you
What
said
the
it
heck was
took
I
you a
saying
long
about it?
time to get used to Brady being
So,
this
and I
good.
understand. So I learned my lesson. And now I am not going to deny what I see with my eyes based on where they were drafted, based on anything. If the guy is performing, if he throws for 300 yards, Maggie, he's a star. And I know they can't re-sign him yet, but he is going to be the future of the team. And I already think Shanahan's there. I see, when he talks about him now, it's love.
Yeah.
It feels like he is running that system. And Kyle Shanahan, because Kyle Shanahan also gets all the credit. So anything Brock Purdy does shines on Kyle Shanahan.
How'd you find this gem?
Yeah,
What
and
a
look
genius
what,
pick.
Look what I did to this. Look at my system and this guy. It's great. So Shanahan is fully invested in Brock Purdy. And I hate to say it, Shanahan strikes me as a guy who does has a little bit of an ego. So he likes this whole, I mean, I'm being nice here.
Actually, let's hear a little from Kyle Shanahan. Carlos, can we please hear cut 3, Kyle Shanahan on his belief in Brock Purdy?
Brock was the most consistent quarterback that I've been around, and it started that way in rookie camp to OTAs to training camp, and I felt a certain way, our players felt a certain way, but then when he got in because of injury, and he had those 7 games and went through every situation possible, playoff games, comebacks, he did it here. I think we went to overtime here when we were down versus the Raiders in 22, but just what he did was, it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't just the record. It wasn't the stats. The film showed it, and that's why we knew if he would be healthy going into the next year, we had a hell of a quarterback.
Kyle Shanahan, not the only one heaping praise on Brock Purdy. Patrick Mahomes, let's play cut 2, knew that Purdy was going to be good going back to his Iowa State games.
I don't know how it feels for him. I mean, the biggest thing I can say is, I mean, it's going to be a great game. I mean, that's what you want in the Super Bowl is great teams going up against each other. I've seen Brock play for a long time. I watched him beat up on Texas Tech a while he was in college. Now him playing great in the NFL, and he's a winner. That's what he is. It takes something to be a winner every single day, and he's done a great job of that. And I'm hoping it's not like his first Super Bowl because I won my first Super Bowl. So I definitely want to win, but I know he'll play great, and it'll be a great game.
There you go.
As long as he doesn't put his any equipment or kicking tee anywhere near where Mahomes is warming up, their relationship sounds rock solid.
Get Jake Moody out of there.
He better be careful.
Jake Moody's got other problems on his hands, like he can't kick field goals consistently.
There was a visual.
That's the kickers, obviously.
There was a visual last night where Brock Purdy and Mahomes were on the big stage.
Yep.
And looking up at them, it struck me, I'm like, it is amazing to see little Brock Purdy up there.
He's got a baby face a little.
Yeah, it was a stunning visual with Patrick Mahomes, already probably the second greatest quarterback of all time. But Purdy didn't look nervous to me. No. He looked like, you know what, I kind of belong here. So I'm confident that he'll actually play okay.
This actually goes back to a conversation we were having before about humility and how you can have that while also having this deep belief in yourself and being like kind of a killer underneath, like in the way that athletes sort of need to compete at a really high level. And I think Brock Purdy has it. I think Patrick Mahomes has it. I think all these QBs have a degree of it because you need something has to come from within to push you because so much of this stuff is done when nobody's looking. And whether it's to the extreme with Michael Jordan, where he wanted to embarrass you, he wanted to outwork you and embarrass you and leave a memorable moment like you will remember me in this moment when I took your $5, I took your soul on a basketball court, I did whatever. And I think these guys, that's the extreme. But I think even with Mahomes and guys like Purdy, they present as very humble guys and with a lot of humility, but you have to have this high degree of self-confidence in order to make it.
Yeah, there's this other thing, too, where they don't believe, like, whatever they failed at early, they learn to overcome that. Any adversity comes their way. You have to overcome adversity to become a Super Bowl level quarterback. It just doesn't have, you can't have everything handed to you. And I think I was talking about Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Like, there's a guy like Patrick Mahomes. It's never enough. He's not going to stop practicing because I have 3 rings. Because I think that insecure was he a 3-star recruit or something? I think at one point, I think that still takes up a huge part of his psyche, and he's always going to work hard. And I think that's kind of why you see these guys up there. Brock Purdy too. You could tell like he is not taking this for granted. He's like he knows he's Mr. Irrelevant. I think there's an interesting sort of combination of confidence humility with all these guys.
Let's go to the phones, 855-212-4CBS. Mike is in Oregon, wants to weigh in on this quarterback conversation. Hey, Mike, what's up?
Hey, good morning, Maggie and Perloff. I love you guys. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak my mind here. These two quarterbacks, they have a matter of ego and sense of humility. When I say ego, it's consciousness of self, where you are, who you are, and both of them still are. I mean, look at Mahomes. He's been to 4 Super Bowls in 5 years, and it's been a challenging year. Yet he knows he wouldn't do that but for Taylor Swift.
Oh, Mike, we didn't see that rope-a-dope coming.
And then you have Brock Purdy, who's constantly getting punched in the face. And I got to tell you, Maggie, you got a hell of a right hook.
Mike, here's the thing. We were just talking about it's the type of games that he's playing, and I'm giving him all the credit in the world, for how the comeback looked against Detroit. But he also didn't play well in the first half. He didn't play well in the first half against Green Bay. He didn't have the ball
in his hand. Detroit dominated. They had 4 possessions. One was a touchdown. One was a missed field goal, sorry. He didn't have the ball in his hand. How could he have not played bad?
I'm not saying he's the only reason why they were in a hole against Detroit at halftime, but I'm saying he had a pass that should have been picked and could have been picked.
And then he did have a pick, but it was tipped.
It was tipped.
But I don't think they had no chance to get a flow because their defense got destroyed on 3rd down. I don't think Purdy was playing that badly in that first half.
Okay. I mean, we'll see something different. Obviously, the rain was an issue in the Green Bay game, but then miraculously, when the rain seemed to be the hardest, is when he led the game-winning drive. And so he's got that. It's not a Purdy hate. And what it is it was the MVP conversation. I couldn't understand how he got in the MVP conversation when we all watch 49ers games and we see what Christian McCaffrey does for that team.
I've been obsessed with this Brock Purdy game manager conversation since yesterday when we talked about Troy Aikman.
Yeah.
A guy who didn't put up these huge numbers but knew what he had to do to win and it became a champion. I started to think, and I know Cam Newton, I love Cam Newton. I know he's been kind of ragging on Purdy a bit. I bet you a lot of guys would rather be Brock Purdy than Cam Newton. Because at the end of the day, besides the podcast and besides, being the flamboyant guy he is, MVP, but like, what does Cam have to show for? He got beat up, he got hurt, because he was carrying a team that wasn't fit for him, quite frankly. A team that they didn't do enough to put around him. Brock Purdy has all these stars around him. He's playing in the Super Bowl. He's a favorite against Patrick Mahomes. I think about the career of someone like Troy Aikman, and I think I'd rather be him than somebody who has to carry a team for 2 years and then get hurt.
I dare you to find a young athlete who would rather be Brock Purdy than Cam Newton.
No, I
think people want to be the flashy big superstar.
I think they think that until they have to do what Cam Newton had to do. I think that if you ask Lamar Jackson, hey, would you rather be on Baltimore or would you rather have those weapons in San Francisco and just distribute the ball and do that? He'd say, I'd rather be in San Francisco tomorrow. If that meant that I don't get MVPs or that meant I don't run the ball as much, I'd rather do that because I'm taking a beating doing what I'm doing trying to carry this team.
Well, and also, as we know, the quarterback gets the unhealthy amount of blame but credit as well. So, even if you're Troy Aikman or whatever doesn't have these all-time stats, does Emmitt Smith get a lot of credit? Does Jimmy Johnson get a lot of credit? Does Michael Irvin? Sure, they share it. But Troy gets a lot of the credit, too, for those Super Bowls. So
he's making $20 million a year to call football.
But Troy was a number one overall pick and a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
So I do think, but it's funny, I kind of disagree with you and not even, I think a lot of young athletes said, I want to be Cam Newton. I understand what you're saying. Like, there is an advantage to being Brock Purdy, but everybody wants to be, you want to be Michael Vick, you want to be Cam Newton, you want to be, it's not you want to be the Super Bowl winner, you want to be the gigantic star.
Well, ideally, I think you want to be the best team on a winning team.
Right. Best player on the winning team. And you said to yourself, watching Brock Purdy up there next to Patrick Mahomes, it looked like he didn't belong only because we know his story. But it's like, wow, this guy got to this level, and it's like he's there in large part because of the pieces around him. And there are a lot of great quarterbacks right now that are sitting at home. We heard the time from Pat Mahomes talking about how miserable he was at the Pro Bowl. And how that is. Imagine that's Josh Allen every year. That's Lamar Jackson every year.
Yeah, but do you think Lamar Jackson would want to be just a distributor who throws screens? That would be such a waste of Lamar's talent.
But he still get the credit.
I think he'd be driven nuts by not being able to really be his full self as a quarterback. I don't think a lot of guys want to be Brock Purdy who are just these point guards.
It's funny, EJ, you bring it up, and you mentioned Josh Allen, and remember the game against the Cowboys, what did he say? They ran the ball so well with James Cook that he said, I felt like I did the group. I was in the group project. I didn't do anything, and I got an A. I think he was okay with it. I think he said it that way because he was okay with it. But you're right. He's used to having to do everything. Is this a poll question? It might be a little out of nowhere. Would you rather be Brock Purdy or Cam Newton?
I'll tell you right now, there are certain passes that I'm sure Brock Purdy does better than Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. I mean, there's probably the guy it's like Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins doesn't have nearly the arm strength of guys, but you notice his receivers have 1,800 yards. Like, it's not always about being the superior talent at quarterback. You could throw these little catchable balls, right?
And think about, Cam Newton. Right now, not in the NFL. We talked about Robert Griffin, another guy, young guy that's not in the NFL. Like, why are these guys not in the NFL? Part of that has been the beating that they've taken.
Yeah.
Again, does Brock Purdy look like a guy that can't play for 15 years? Like, his style, there's nothing about his style, how he plays, that you feel like he's going to be in any danger as long as he's on a team that can protect him like any other quarterback.
And we're talking about Brock Purdy, and could he shed the label of game manager, with a Super Bowl win, and how would it look? But would you rather be someone like Cam Newton, who got all the credit and the flash and the pizzazz and the physical skill that Cam brought, or would you rather be Brock Purdy, who's got all the talent around him, has talent himself, but finds himself in more of a winning situation?
Well, you know what Cam would want to be, right? Have you ever seen Cam run an RPO where it's either going to be Cam who runs into the end zone or the running back runs in the end zone? Guess who runs in the end zone 100% of the time? Cam wants the ball in his hand. I think Lamar Jackson wants the ball in his hands. I don't think these guys want to be Brock Purdy. They want to be Cam Newton. They want to be the start. That was almost Cam's fault, is he always wanted the spotlight. He always wanted the ball in his hand, and he took those giant hits. I don't think Lamar could be. I think it'd drive him nuts. I could not be Brock Purdy. He could not play for Shanahan.
Is it the difference of he wanted it, or was the team saying, you're our only hope?
No.
It's you and Jonathan Stewart.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm telling you, at the 1 yard line, there'd be gigantic holes in. Jonathan Stewart was here and Cam was here. And a lot of quarterbacks would have given to Stewart. Cam was never. He's like, I want that touchdown. I want to dance. And I'm sorry, maybe that wasn't. They were talking about 1 yard touchdowns on 1st and 1. Anybody can run it in. Like, you don't think that Cam chose to play his style of football?
I mean, I think you got to have a willing coaching staff, right?
Get
You've got
outta
to.
here.
He's got to want to play that way, and you've got to have the people in the building who are saying, "Okay, you can. We're on board with this."
Yeah, and also too, if you have Cam Newton, I think there's a temptation like, oh my God, I have Cam Newton. Like, go out there
go
and
ahead,
win the
do
game.
your thing,
yeah,
put
yeah.
the cape on, and
yeah.
open
I
the
think it
shirt.
always helps a coach to have like a little Brock Purdy guy who's not going to like. Yeah, it's going to be hard to be a coach. Say, Cam Newton, I want you to use 60% of your talent here and help everybody. I don't think it works like that, but it's an interesting point though.
855-2124-CBS, 855-212-4227. Okay, lots more to do. See you guys in the chat, the Weedos, the coffee drinkers. We say good morning to you. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio, Twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio. We say good morning to our CBS Sports Radio affiliates. We love you. We think about you all the time. You're on our minds constantly. The free Odyssey app, you can download it. It's crystal clear. It is absolutely FREE free. And SiriusXM channel 158. Coming up, we've got some news that I can't help it, guys. I don't like it. I don't like it. The NFL is making a decision. I'm staunchly against it. Find out what that is next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
So, welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Carlos is running Super Bowl halftime acts. This one was polarizing because apparently old people had never heard of The Weeknd before this concert, and there were a lot of mirrors, which I guess is also confusing to old people.
Old people.
Yeah, I thought this one was good, but not all time to me.
Listen, this was, you got to put a little bit of a caveat on this. It's like the Lakers title in the bubble. It was happening during the pandemic. You know, I think people were really into safety at that point. You don't want people up on stage together. It was a crazy time.
Oh, man, there's one. I know I totally disagree, at least with EJ on one, that I did not like.
Halftime show? What's that?
I didn't like Rihanna.
Oh, my gosh.
I got to tell you,
I be reminded of this terrible take, Pro.
I was there, and everyone said on TV like something different was happening, but like all the levers and the things, like I didn't understand.
Who sounds like the old person?
I
now?
just
the levers and the levels.
It just was not. It didn't blow me away in person at all.
In person's interesting.
Yeah.
To me, I love. I know you joke about how many movies I didn't see, but I love cinematography. The cinematography of that Super Bowl performance, I think, was probably the best ever. I just think the shots they got, how they set up everything with the lights when they raised up to the roof.
So this is an appreciation of the technical aspect.
Yeah, and she was fantastic too. But like so much of just the production of that, I thought was S level.
See, that's
incredible.
That's so funny because I thought the exact opposite. I'm like, Lady Gaga came down from the roof. Britney Spears had dancing sharks. I remember Beyonce was up there and like 47 other stars and 9,000 kids. To me, there was something kind of simple. It was really just Rihanna.
Which I think was what made it great, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I think the fact that there wasn't a lot of guests or a lot of other people to take you to distract you was like, you know what, this is just her and her amazing voice, and she's doing this pregnant, which was incredible.
Yeah,
like to pull that off was stunning.
So this is the level of fear that men have about asking if a woman is pregnant, where it took until halfway through that performance to be like, all right, I guess she really is, because we women have scared the daylights into you guys about asking whether or not a woman's pregnant. It's one of the great accomplishments of the female race.
Unless you're actually delivering, unless you actually have your
head of your crowning.
There's no stirrups.
The only way.
There are no stirrups there. I'm not going to even ask.
So I've maybe a shameful confession, but I'll do it anyway.
Oh,
no. So it's like
you didn't ask somebody.
When you're on the subway. For me, so when I'm on the subway,
this is a big city thing.
So in New York City, there's a courtesy thing. If you see a pregnant woman, you should get up.
But or a disabled person or anything.
Right? Yes.
You'd be surprised if people don't do it often.
Right. But because there'll be situations where you don't know. Oftentimes it's like if it's not a guarantee, I don't get up.
I get up for any woman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I get up for almost anybody because I don't really care. Yeah, don't you guys like?
But I feel
if it's a dad, just get up. What's the big deal? Standing, it's no big deal for us.
I've gotten up. Maybe not. I don't think I've gotten someone wrong who was pregnant, but I have gotten up for people who were who looked older to me.
Yeah.
And they kind of looked at me like, how dare you? Like, I'm 50
Super
or whatever.
offended.
I'm 55. Like, I can get up. Like, sit down. I'm like, okay. So now I'm like very hesitant now to do it because I don't even want to. I am afraid of all subway interactions. I'd rather not talk to anybody or have anybody talk to me. So me even doing this alone is a lot. So to have somebody have to be upset that I'm being courteous, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to sit down unless someone looks at me and asks, and then I'll get up.
I think you should just err on the side of caution with the pregnant women and let every woman sit down.
Right, but then that's the fear, though. That's the fear, though, is that because then maybe they'll take offense.
But-
They'll be like, why are you letting me sit down?
Sorry, back to the halftime act. One thing. You guys are not pro guest star. I want to see a cast of thousands come out here. I want to know. I want to be surprised by a cameo.
Well, you can bet on that. There's prop bets. We're going to be doing that later on in the week. Andrew Bogish is here with headlines. Bogish, you ever ask a woman if she was pregnant and it turns out she wasn't?
I've assumed it and was wrong. I guess kind of like EJ, but I've never verbalized the question.
Way to have restraint. Good morning.
Yeah, could you make it more obvious? Like, we're trying to be gentlemen. Like, don't make it harder for us. Like give us, there's a walk you can do, make a T-shirt that announces it, just so we know that we're doing the right thing.
Do you think women should have to wear a bumper sticker on our ass that says baby on board? Is that what you want?
I mean, I prefer it on the belly so I could see it easier. What if she's not, what if she's facing me? I can't see the backside.
You're right.
Yeah.
We should put a little pin on our lapel. It just says
yes, perfect.
A little baby on it. By the way, no one got up for me until I was like 8 months. I was like, thanks, losers. Yeah.
Well, if the Eagles were tired playing in just America this season, imagine how badly next season will go when they leave the continent. The Birds will host the NFL's inaugural Brazil game in Sao Paulo on Friday night, September 6th. That's the night after the regular season kicks off. The opponent, as if it matters, is TBD.
Okay. Perloff, this is his team, but if you'll allow me to be outraged on his behalf for a moment. Okay, I get that the NFL wants to go into these bigger markets and bigger countries and get new fans. I understand it. But you're telling me you have to take away a team's home opener to go to Brazil? That seems so like a middle finger to your fans. How do you take the home opener away? And if they make it Eagles-Cowboys or a division game, I will double down on this opinion. I think it is awful. You have a bye week. You go to other countries on the bye. What's the difference? The time change is actually not even as egregious as it is going to Europe.
Well, I mean, you can't take away the home opener because whenever they open at home, that'll be the home opener.
No, but you know what I mean. You're taking away a home game, but I feel like that the fervor that people have and the love for the NFL at the beginning of the season, when you have all the hope in the world, where everyone's super excited, to take away that, I don't like it.
That's funny. I mean, first of all, any Philadelphia game is just pure mayhem, so it doesn't matter. I don't think this is a middle finger to the Eagles because I know the league office loves the Eagles. They love Lurie. They're really tight with the league office. You have to play. If you're going to go to Brazil, it has to be the first game. There's no other choice. Right? You can't go in week 12 to Brazil.
Why? If you have your bye week, what's
I
the
just looked it up.
difference?
It's a 13-hour flight.
Okay, but you're still okay. So you're gonna still come back on that flight, and you're gonna have to play the next week. Your bye week's not week 2.
Well, yeah, but
so you're gonna play.
I do think it's different. You have to do it before the season starts. I think that's much easier to do week 1. I think actually the Eagles, believe it or not, it's kind of like an off-season trip. You know how college basketball teams go to Italy or something?
When Michigan went to Italy to meet the Pope, I don't think it's
bonding.
like that.
I think it's a bonding opportunity for some
They
reason.
do that in the off season. They don't do that during the season.
Well, this is kind of like the off. So basically, they'll go in.
Week 1 is not the off season.
Well, the trip, I mean, a big chunk of it will be technically the off season once the game starts. So it is. I just think week 1 is when you do this. You definitely can't do it week 12. That's not even an option.
I do think it's going to become perhaps a kind of a showcase game for these guys. Because think about it. You have
They're
the
psyched.
Thursday game. That's the big game everyone wants to see, of course, opening night. And then you have Sunday night game, Monday night game people care about. Maybe there'll be 2, who knows. And then everyone else in week 1, everybody's kind of following their own teams, excited for their games. But you don't have the national platform. Like, you'll get that with this Friday game. So you got to fly 13 hours to get it, but it's going to be a big stage.
Well, think about this, though. The only one team has been named, right? The Philadelphia Eagles. And why do you think that is? I'll bet you the Eagles said, we want to do this.
Oh, we want to go and be Brazil's team?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
just like Jacksonville is London's team.
Bogish, can you just mark this down to make a little mental note or whatever? When the Eagles get off to a 1-5 start, when Perloff is going to blame the trip to Brazil because they were tired from all the travel, dehydrated maybe, and if something goes wrong with the Eagles in the beginning of the season, Perloff will blame Brazil. 10 times out of 10.
So with Arizona, it was dry heat. In Brazil, what would be the humidity, I assume?
Carnival.
Rainforest.
Yeah, exactly. Rainforest issues.
They go to the Amazon and, had someone got their toe snatched by an anaconda. The Perloff will come up with something.
Well, listen, I got much bigger problems. Who are my defensive backs on this trip to Sao Paulo? Tell me that. we gotta find somebody who can cover anybody.
Can Neymar play?
Yeah.
Maybe go down there and scout.
Maybe this trip will take something out of the opposing wide receivers because that's the only way we're stopping anybody next year. Although Vic Fangio coaches well near the equator. No, I'm just kidding. I have no idea. But I'm telling you,
does he?
You hold it. I'm okay with this trip. The Eagles need something radical. They need to change something, and I think it's going to Brazil.
Said no one ever. I love Vic Fangio, who, according to Ron Jaworski, didn't like that players were partying in Miami, allegedly, and were not dialed in. What do you think Brazil's going to do?
Well, it's sort of funny, by the way. The headline came out, and we were on the bus to media night, and I said to Maggie, it said, NFL announces Friday Eagles will play. I'm like, wow. Are they talking about the Philadelphia Eagles or the band the Eagles? Because how can first of all, how do they already know the Eagles are going to play? They haven't announced any overseas games. This seems such a weird announcement.
Man,
that's months away, and now all of a sudden the Eagles are playing Brazil. I'm going to roll with it, and you can mark that. I will not use it as an excuse. I promise.
Do you realize we're going to have to put duct tape over his mouth
Nope.
for him not to use this as an excuse? And even if the Eagles start 10-1, if they fall off in that halfway point of the season or the back half of the season, you'll recall the Brazil trip.
Well, the reality is the players, they'll be Sunday on their couch watching the rest of the league open up. So they do get an extra 2 days. I don't know. Friday night football. What do I think? Who watches football on Friday night?
I
NFL,
always
it's
thought
so
the
weird.
NFL didn't do football on Friday nights, sort of out of a courtesy to high school football. It's like high school for Fridays, Saturdays for college, Sunday, Monday, Thursday are for the NFL.
I think it's Friday night's the worst TV night. That's where the crappy shows go. So where's the TV rating? But now the NFL, everybody watches every game. No, I'm excited. I like that the Eagles get one of these standalone games.
Maybe they finally get a good turf because it's soccer.
Yeah.
There you go.
What else we got, sir?
P.S. Do we know if Brazil wants Eagles fans?
Oh, great question.
Oh, that's a good one.
I don't think Brazil knows what's about to hit them.
Do you think Brazil? Do you think they like
the Patriots?
I was gonna say, do you think like cheese sticks? They love steaks.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
That's
that'd
Argentina too.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
EJ, you're already segment producing for the pregame show.
There you go.
But I thought, wouldn't they be Patriots fans watching Giselle root on Tom Brady all those years? I mean, Giselle's like a national treasure.
I think they are 100% into soccer, what we call soccer. I think they could care less. So, but that's a big market the NFL is doing. Is there a Mexico game too?
I know there were issues with the stadium. Oh, are they back in Mexico City?
Pretty sure there's a Mexico game. We know the 5 teams or the 4 teams playing in London/Germany, and now we know the Eagles in Brazil.
Sorry, Bogus. So they did announce all the other overseas.
They announced the teams that are technically the home teams for those games, not the actual matchups.
Oh, okay. So that's why Philly was announced and not the other teams.
Wait, not to put you on the spot, but do we know the home teams for the other ones?
Yeah, well, the Jaguars too. I mean, I did it in an update a couple of weeks ago. I think they did it as the postseason was beginning.
Okay.
But I'd have to look it up. I don't memorize things like that.
How dare you?
By the way, Mexico game is postponed this year.
Oh, okay.
So the Azteca Stadium.
Yeah, they got problems. They got issues with that
Which
stadium.
is weird because they're doing the World Cup. I guess that's 2 years from now, so I guess they'll be done by then. But yeah, no Mexico game this year.
Okay. All right, we got to the bottom of that. Bogus, what else?
Well, as we know, Mike Vrabel did not find a job after divorcing the Titans. According to The Athletic, part of Vrabel's problem is being big and strong and handsome. I wonder what that's like. Vrabel might be too imposing to the dudes built like me running some NFL teams. They didn't win.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
A football coach was too big to get hired?
This was in The
Athletic.
Yeah, it's in The Athletic. I actually think Diana Rossini, who you posted a picture with last night, I believe she at least co-wrote the story. She seems pretty connected in Tennessee from previous stories.
Yeah.
And part of it was that Vrabel doesn't necessarily do well in meetings because he's so big and burly. Most people called BS on it.
Did you see the tweet, Bogus, where there's a picture of Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones with her dragon saying that the woman owner of the Lions is the only one who's not afraid of a big NFL coach because she hired Dan Campbell. So I think her name, Sheila Kemp, is sort of the only owner with any balls in this situation to have a gigantic NFL head coach.
Wait, but NFL head coaches are all they used
Nobody's
to be
like-
all big.
No, you're not like
Nobody's
Vrabel.
No, they're all skinny nerds
Yeah,
like me.
Mike-
Shane
yeah.
Steichen
Mike
is the
McDaniel.
model.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we knew football, we'd have jobs in the NFL.
Brian Callahan does not look like Mike Vrabel. I mean, there's a big difference.
Okay, wait. Sorry, I'm not trying to do a little back of the envelope here, but Mike McCarthy is not a small person.
No, there's a difference between being husky and being a former NFL linebacker.
Okay, well, Robert Saleh cuts a pretty imposing figure, and he miraculously still has a job.
Yeah.
I don't think this is like a hard and fast. Kevin O'Connell's not small.
Oh,
he was a
my
quarterback.
gosh. Kevin O'Connell's a ray of sunshine. Mike Vrabel killed people for a living. Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, but he's not tackling you in the interview.
Yeah.
Now, have you seen a Mike Vrabel gaggle with media? I mean, he looks like he's about to tackle them when he
Right.
talks to
The
them.
dude's
I mean,
he's eating kneecaps.
yeah, he's physically
No, that's
imposing.
Campbell.
Yeah,
But he got it from Vrabel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
You ever
saw
seen
Vrabel do it.
Vrabel at halftime will grab a center and grab his face mask, and they'll start crying to each other. They're
D'Amico
ridiculous.
Ryans was one of the most feared defenders. What
Not
are we
Mike-
talking about
Not
here?
Mike Vrabel.
You guys are unevenly applying this thing.
No.
This is total
We're not.
BS.
We're not even playing anything. We didn't write the story, and your reaction is the one that most people had to this. I'm just.
okay, good.
Don't. You're killing the messenger here.
I'm sorry.
No,
Bogish. Damn. No.
The bulk of the story was that Vrabel, his biggest sin might have been angering and not getting along with two GMs, back-to-back GMs in Tennessee. But it also has the caveat that apparently some people don't handle him well because he's so big and burly. And again,
Andy Reid. I mean, I know.
Well,
this
yeah,
is interesting. I feel like this is the one profession where how you look at your size it like doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm gonna have to go read this article.
One thing too, D'Amico Ryans has slimmed down a lot since his playing.
Right, I was thinking that too.
Yeah,
Look, you're talking about intimidating. I mean, I don't know how he is, but
He was kind of short to me though.
Also, he's always smiling. He's way
the
different
way
vibe
he
than
played
Vrabel.
was very violent.
I don't know. Is D'Amico Ryans a particularly violent player? I don't remember one way or the other. He wasn't like a Vontae's perfect.
No, he wasn't dirty. But okay, this is interesting to me. I'm gonna go look it up. Bogish, what else you got?
apparently, I don't have any time for anything else. So
okay.
back to you guys.
Well, we got to say, this is one of the true cool things that we get to do in Vegas. Perloff, when you're in Las Vegas, besides going to the Elvis-themed wedding yesterday, we also are going to have a magician right here on our set
Oh, boy.
to teach us a card trick and do a lot of other fun stuff. So there you go. Murray the Magician is going to join us next here on The Row. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining.
Okay, I think I have a read.
One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff. When I tell you we are so excited for our next guest, I think it's an understatement. You come to Las Vegas, Perloff, what do you have to do?
You have to go to a magic act.
Of course. Well, instead, we're lucky enough to have the Magic Act come to us. Murray the Magician is the first and maybe only viral magician. You have over almost 2 million subscribers on YouTube, Murray. It is our pleasure to welcome you here to the Maggie and Perloff Show.
Thank you for having me. How are you welcome to Vegas.
Oh, well, thank you. First of all, before we get into, you're going to teach us some tricks. You
Sure.
brought a sword.
I did.
So we're excited
I brought a
about
sword
that.
for a trick.
How'd you get into magic?
Man, anything to avoid education and going to school. I started when I was 7 years old in Vancouver, Canada, and I saw David Copperfield on TV years ago, way back. Avenge the Statue of Liberty and all that, and I thought, man, that's pretty wild. And as a kid, you get certain things. When you grow up, you get a Matchbox car set, you get a scooter, and then you get a magic kit probably, like a lot of kids do. So I got it, and I kind of stuck, and I thought, well, this is kind of cool. So I started learning the tricks, and then through getting, through my early teens, I got another magic kit, and I realized you could do kids' birthday parties, because I'd go to the swimming rec center, you see these ads, clowns or whatever the heck it was, they're trying to, pitch their show, and I thought, well, I could sell my myself as a magician. I mean, half an hour show, make a few bucks. So I started doing that. Took a Yellow Pages ad out when I was like 11 or 12. I had a little office phone in my bedroom, and I started booking myself. And then the jobs I couldn't do, I booked out and took 10 or 15% off those people.
You're
So,
a magician / entrepreneur.
Well, of course, yeah. So I started that, and I realized it's pretty cool living, and I've been doing it ever since, still fooling people, getting paid for it. So just don't tell anybody.
So, Murray, we put everything through a sports lens. Who's the Michael Jordan of Magic?
Yeah, that's a good thing. I think the Michael Jordan Magic is really David Copperfield, or David Blaine. They've been really out there. They're both two different styles of magicians. David Blaine's much more, death-defying in the sense of he's hanging off stuff and doing things where he holds his breath for 12 minutes at a time. Almost like what Houdini did. Yeah. Whereas Copperfield has the artistic of a theater and does the very Broadway style of magic. Very classy, eclectic. And things
Well,
like that.
I mean, if that's Michael Jordan, then I think Murray is the LeBron James because he is the modern version, the YouTube subscribers, doing everything for this mass audience, and you've been working and doing magic on the strip for a very long time. What is it that makes a great magician? Not good, great. Is it because the technical proficiency of the magic? Is it the personality and the showmanship? What takes you from good to elite?
I think what it does is I think it's to be a great entertainer.
Yeah.
When I got into magic, I didn't want to just be a magician.
Sure.
I like everything. I want to be funny. I want to be entertaining. And when I was young, I started on cruise ships, touring the world. And when I started doing that, a comedian came up to me and said, "You know what? You're really funny. Why don't you do more jokes in your show?" And I said to him in my early 20s, going, "Well, I'm not a comedian. I'm a magician." And he said, "Why don't you just be an entertainer?" And I thought, man, that's strong. That's a lot stronger than just being a magician because you widen your reach for who you want to entertain. So I really took that to heart. So I started trying to be funny and weird looking and comb my hair spiky blonde, which I have, and my black framed glasses. I grew up watching Liberace.
Yeah.
I grew up watching the Howard Stern people. People are just off a little bit. Minnie Pearl, people know who that is. It's an old act that used to, in the country world, used to have a hat with a price tag that hung off it. And she just kept it there. And that was, so I really looked up at these people that I thought, man, they were really wild and different. And if I want to get into business, I want to at least look like somebody before I am somebody. So as a kid growing up, I just try to brand myself a little bit,
We get to interview Hall of Fame football players, coaches, all players. We've only been looking forward to you, Murray.
Yeah, I got to tell you.
I'll pay you later.
You laugh. I was just at an interview with our affiliate in Boise, and they asked me, who are you interviewing? I'm like, well, Emmitt Smith, Miles Garrett. I listed like 3 Hall of Famers. But I'm like, what you really want to tune in for is Murray the magician. And they're like, ooh. And I swear, they're like, ooh, you got a magician? That's different. That's interesting.
If you ever saw me throw a football, you'd be like, yep, he's a magician. He's definitely a magician.
You picked the right line of work.
Oh, boy,
okay,
yeah.
You brought a sword.
I did. You want to see a trick?
Yes,
all right,
please.
all right. Let's do this.
Murray
trick,
the
all
magician is here. You
So
want to check him out?
hang on
Of
here,
course,
let
you
me do
can
this.
come see him in Las Vegas. If you can't make it to Vegas, his YouTube channel is absolutely popping. Almost 2 million subscribers. Okay,
Yes.
so let's describe this theater of the mind for the radio
of course,
audience.
Of course. So I have a sword here. It's a bent sword, unfortunately, because when I flew back from my show in Tahoe, I don't want to name the airline that did this, but they fly south and they fly west. But the point is, I have a bent sword here. Why I have a sword in 2024, I'll never know. But I also have a deck of cards, because that's what you do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have you guys select a card. Okay. And being at the radio, you can actually probably say it over the radio because you're not really going to give away whether the trick works or not if I know what the cards are, you know what I mean? So you can do that. But say stop whenever you want. You're going to select a card, all right? So I have 52 cards here. I'm going to have them pick 3 cards, all right? So here we go. Say stop whenever you want.
Stop.
Right there. Now do me a favor. Take the card. Hang on to that. Okay. You can show the viewers, memorize all that, who's watching on, of course, on the live feed.
Yep.
And I'm going to cut the deck. How many times? 2 or 3 times?
2.
2. All right. Here we go. Once, twice. It's clean, right?
Yeah.
Take that off. Have a look at that card. And then one
Okay.
more for you. Say stop whenever you wish again.
Stop.
Great. Take the card. Have a look at that. So you have 3 cards. Memorize the cards. You can show each other. Okay. And if you guys do want to say what the cards are out loud, you're more than welcome to. It's not going to affect them. So
Okay.
Go for it. Go for it.
I've got the 5 of spades.
All right.
Okay, I have a Queen of Hearts and an 8 of Diamonds.
Great. So say stop whenever you want.
Stop.
Put it back in the pack. Okay. And you know what your card is, right?
Yes.
Do not forget that. 'Cause
Okay.
I really
I'll
didn't
write it
remember what you
down.
just said. Say stop whenever you want.
Okay,
Right
stop.
there. Great. Put it down. Now you know what your card is, right?
Yep.
Place your card right on top of here. I'm going to cut it into the pack like so. Now you know what the 3 cards are, correct?
I do.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. Who's good at shuffling cards? Which one? Who wants to
Oh,
shuffle?
sure.
All
I've
right, here we
always
go.
wanted to be a
Perfect.
blackjack
Mix
dealer
them
in my
up
life.
really well.
I probably shouldn't say
Perfect.
that with my boss standing right here. This whole radio thing doesn't turn out. I'm just going to go. I'm not very good at it.
Right.
Shuffle again?
Yeah, whatever you want. You're the
Okay.
boss.
All
It's,
right.
You know, it's all in your hands now. You don't
Thank
do it
you.
well.
I was
it
just
could
told
blow
I'm
the
better
trick.
at radio. Debatable. All right. I'm
All right,
handing the
great.
cards back.
So I got them here. I'm going to take the fan of cards, fan them in the air, and as I fan them in the air, I'm going to take this sword. I'm going to stab the cards in the air.
Okay.
All right. And as I do that, I'm going to see if I can find your 3 cards. I know.
Do we have
pretty
to move
well.
away? Are
No,
we-
no,
are
you're,
we in
you're
danger
good.
here?
You're
Okay.
fine.
Okay,
You're
we're
fine.
good.
Here we go. You guys ready? Here
Yeah.
we go. Throw them in the air. Come on. That's it.
Whoa.
Watch. Oh ho. Check that out. 3 cards are now on my sword.
Okay.
And do me a favor. Yellow one of your cards. What's your card?
5 of spades.
5 of spades. Is the 5 of spades on there? Everyone, that's 5 of spades right there, right? That's your card?
Yes.
5 of spades on the sword. There's only 3 cards on the sword, right? All right,
Whoa.
yellow one of your cards.
Queen of Hearts.
Queen of Hearts. Let's have a look. That's Queen of Hearts right there, right? Yeah.
That is a Queen of
Great, yeah. And then
Hearts.
what's the 3rd card here?
It is an 8 of diamonds.
8 of diamonds right there, yes. 8 of diamonds, those are your cards.
How?
There
How
you
did this
go.
happen?
You guys are hired. You can stay in my show. Show's at 4 o'clock, Tropicana. You're on stage. Let's go.
Amazing. Thank you for that. This is awesome. Murray, thank you so much. You're going to make us a hit on Radio Row. You are a hit on Radio Row. And, of course, on YouTube. Go subscribe. You already have nearly 2 million subscribers, 5 billion views, including your wife doing magic tricks,
Yep.
which is pretty cool.
Exactly.
A little twist.
Yeah.
You are just such a gentleman. Thank you for coming to join us.
Well, thanks for having me on here, and enjoy the Super Bowl. What
Yeah,
a cool time, huh?
we won't embarrass you with this card trick. We're going to execute this at the highest level.
Yes.
You can come open for me, the Tropicana. As soon as you get it down, I got a spot for you.
Just don't have a pack of cards for Maggie to open.
No.
'cause That will go
That'd take
badly.
a while. Yeah, it'd take about half an hour.
Everyone's going to have to need a few more drinks if I get the card open, including me. Murray the Magician, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, I'm 1 for 4 on the card trick.
You've been practicing a lot more,
Yeah.
and Murray the Magician, amazing. I already forgot it. We were up for like 20 hours yesterday. When were you practicing?
I tried it on different people last night, and EJ saw me fail. There's a little trick where I turn the card over. I always forget to memorize what the card is. So I'm like,
It's
I
a
see
fatal
it.
flaw. If you're going to be a magician,
But I
you got
think
to
it
get a
was because I
handle on
was
it.
so sleep deprived, I couldn't remember 5 of clubs. I'm being dead serious. Like I would look at it and just go right out of my mind.
Well, we were at the Super Bowl media day last night. You know, our plan was like, oh, we'll get some players, we'll do some card tricks, and I could tell Perloff was not confident it was going to go well.
There was
He was like, I don't think we can do this.
There was a gaggle of 5 Chiefs right there, and I had the cards out. I'm like, I'm not going to show my lame trick and fail. These guys are already judging me. To fail in front of Super Bowl players would be the worst.
Oh, man. Okay, 855-212-4CBS. Let's go back to the phones. Dave is in San Francisco, wants to talk about Brock Purdy, expectations for this game. Good morning, Dave. What's up?
Yeah, good morning, guys. I just wanted to say, Brock, he's found himself in a position that, not many, rookies or, second-year players have found themselves. The talk about the comeback player of the year, no one even mentioned him because, they were just looking at his stats and, they're promoting him for MVP. Guy is.
It's a good point, Dave, and it's a good point. We really have not marveled. Like, we followed Aaron Rodgers' Achilles minute by minute.
Yeah.
The Brock Purdy getting back from that elbow injury, it was ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
We know the team reached out to Tom Brady as a contingency plan because they weren't sure about Purdy's elbow.
Hey, wait, what about all the stuff that quarterbacks are defined by all the offseason work they put in? He just showed up in August and was like ready to go.
This is what happens when you play so much college football.
Yeah.
Maybe you got a lot of reps under your belt.
I
don't
thought
know.
you needed to be throwing every day for 6 months to be good anymore. Apparently not.
We've got so much more for you, including our burning question about Patrick Mahomes in this Super Bowl. Peter King is going to join us live on Radio Row. Lots to do. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She can run the 40 faster than Tom Brady. He got a perfect score on the Wonderlic. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Does Patrick Mahomes need 7 Super Bowls to be considered the greatest of all time? Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, Mandalay Bay Convention Center. We are caught up in all of the Super Bowl hype.
Yeah, I mean, the way people name greatest of all time now, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to go right there. the fact that people are having LeBron as the GOAT shows that you do not have to have the same number of titles to at least claim GOAT status in some people's mind. To me, it's overblown. I think we get caught up in recency bias on these debates. The dude's at 2 Super Bowls, the same as Eli Manning right now. The same as
they look a little different.
They look a little different, but my point is he's closer to Eli than he is Tom Brady in 7. I mean, come on. What are we doing here?
Okay, so first of all, he's on the doorstep. Like, if he wins the third in 5 years, then the conversation, I think, gets a lot more meat on the bone. But why I think Mahomes and Brady are now getting talked about so much together is because Mahomes doesn't have a natural rival right now. Somebody else has to step up and start beating him more consistently. Joe Burrow's got to stay healthy. Yep. Josh Allen's actually got to win a couple of these. Lamar Jackson has to do his part. We'll see now Justin Herbert with Jim Harbaugh, if they have something to say about it. Tua. I mean, there's a lot of candidates out there.
I'm a big quarterback guy, but are you forgetting the other 21 players who start on this team? Yes, I mean, come on. These guys have to do it. Josh Allen doesn't have to do it alone. Everyone needs their team to step up. And Baltimore, by the way, their offensive coach has to call a run play in the second half. There's so much more going on.
Relitigate the AFC Championship
and
game.
there are a lot of quarterbacks and teams that are really close. I mean, Kansas City was the number 3 seed this year. It's not like they're so far and above these guys. And they have not won this game yet either. Are we jumping ahead of ourselves?
You know, are we jumping ahead? Listen, I think that this is not just a fan conversation. This is not just something for us, people and fans in the media. I think the players themselves are more into this than they will let on. Patrick Mahomes will say the right thing. So let's hear a little of Mahomes last night, opening night. He was asked about the comps between him and Tom.
I know I'm blessed to be around a lot of great players around me. And so right now it's doing whatever I can to beat a great 49ers team and trying to get that third ring. And then if you ask me that question in like 15 years, and I'll see if I can get close to 7. But 7 seems like a long ways away still.
Okay, the right thing to say. It's true, factually accurate. 7 is more than 2. But Mahomes also said last night, we're trying to, quote, put our stamp on NFL history. These guys are focused on the game, no doubt, but you don't think they understand where they are on the chessboard at all times. And when you get to elite status like Mahomes, it's natural, I think, to start thinking, hey, am I going to be remembered in the same conversation as Brady? Is there a way I could pass him?
No, I think that actually every player and every team wants to win this Super Bowl. I mean,
no, he's not looking past it.
Yeah. No, but I think 3 in 5 years is incredible.
Yeah.
But it also could go away like that. They could win their third or not win their third. If you had told me Aaron Rodgers, when he won, he beat the Steelers, I think it was 10, that was the last time he was going to win the Super Bowl, I would not have believed it. And even with this dynasty, Andy Reid could retire next year. Travis Kelce, I don't think the Chiefs are so far ahead of everybody else that they're even going to win 1 or 2 more Super Bowls. I mean, it's so much parity now. It's even different than Brady. I do not see this getting anywhere near 7, to be honest.
So we're asking the question, does Mahomes need 7 Super Bowls to be considered the greatest of all time? Is this simply a ring count? And I think because of the sport, because it's football and it's such a team game, that means it's not about the ring count. That because other factors have to play in, what if Brady didn't have Adam Vinatieri? Because other people have to factor into this, it's not just about the rings, it's how it's going to look. Mahomes being the more athletic quarterback. Mahomes may be doing this in a shorter timeline. Say he gets, 6 in 12 years, where it took Tom Brady 7 in 23 years. There's going to be these other parts of this conversation that are going to become relevant because this is the ultimate team game. To just ring chase, like we're talking about LeBron and Michael, it doesn't apply to the NFL.
I think he's got to get past 4. To even start the conversation, because he'll be tied with Montana at 4. Tom's going to have that 7 above everybody. 6 of course, but that's such a long way away. Even 4 in this, they're 2-point underdogs. Are we forgetting that fact too? They have not won this Super Bowl. I think a lot of people think they will, but my point is, it's such a fine line for Patrick Mahomes. If he wins 3, to me, he's not even approaching 7. Give me a number. What is the number you need? Are you not willing to even give a number yet?
I honestly, I kind of agree with you about 4.
Yeah.
I think 4, we're starting, especially if it's a condensed amount of time. I think that we're going to start to maybe, you'll re-examine some of Brady's Super Bowls. You'll start looking a little bit more at the first 3. You start looking at the defense and how good they were. And
that you could say for Mahomes this year too.
And Mahomes for this year, I mean, if you're going to get into these lofty goal areas that we talk about elite, you're going to have to win multiple ways.
I mean, Bradshaw won 4 in, 8 or 9 years, and he's nowhere near this GOAT conversation. So it's a kind of a fickle topic. I just think there's recency bias here with Mahomes, and he is more talented. But by the way, everyone's gonna look like Patrick Mahomes in 5 years. There's gonna be a lot of talented guys coming to the NFL because they're all copying him.
Caleb Williams has already said there's nothing Patrick Mahomes can do on a football field that I can't do, and he's never taken an NFL snap. Way to set the bar for yourself. EJ, can we update some poll results, please? We put it out on Twitter at Maggie and Pearl. You can find us on all social media platforms. What do we have on the Mahomes conversation?
Okay, so we asked the question earlier in the show, basically is Pat Mahomes, does he have to get to 7 rings in order to catch the GOAT, Tom Brady? So we asked this question, pulling the poll results now, so give me 1 second. But the poll results, as we saying right now, 60% say yes, he needs 7 rings to pass Tom Brady as the GOAT. Right now, a little less than 40% say no.
Interesting. I'm willing to apply a little more, nuance to this conversation as opposed just like, here's the rings on the wall type
Yeah.
thing.
Will you agree that there is a tendency to maybe think the thing you watched in your sports prime is the best? Like, for example, EJ, your sports prime, you're going to have a different GOAT than me. I mean, my GOAT is probably Michael Jordan and Brady. I do think that every individual, and whether you're talking about a fan or you're actually talking an athlete, like we didn't see Babe Ruth, we didn't see Mickey Mantle, so we don't, I think you never have all the information in this debate at all.
No, well, the good thing about Brady is he played forever.
Yeah,
so most people
multiple generations know Brady.
Yeah, everyone knows that
He beat
guy.
Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know.
And in an AFC championship.
Yeah, and an AFC.
But like, we talked last night about Bill Russell. Like, if you're really going to do a ring thing, then Bill Russell is the guy. But like, we're like, we never saw him, so we don't even know.
I think it's a great point because actually we talked about it on the show, how often when you talked about people my age, young millennials, 30-year-olds and such, how many of them will run to, in basketball conversation, Kobe Bryant being the GOAT, which in a historical context, not to disrespect Kobe, he's obviously a legend, but sounds insane because you think about all the other guys that have won more championships, won more MVPs and things like that. Kobe, great accomplishments, but not to that level. But they saw Kobe Bryant be the best player in the NBA for 10 years.
Yep.
That's the guy that they saw. So they can't run to Michael or run to Magic or Kareem or guys like that because they didn't watch them.
Yeah, it's like if no one went up to Patrick Mahomes yesterday and say, how do you feel like you compare to Bart Starr?
Right. Or Otto Graham.
And Mahomes.
Maybe the Blue Man Group asked him that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he would have been like, well, I'm a big fan of Bart Starr. You know how quarterbacks answer all these questions. Like,
yeah, but for them, and again, we're talking about Patrick Mahomes and does he need 7 titles to be considered the GOAT? We think this is a fan conversation. It's the athletes themselves are more engaged in this. I bet if you did ask Mahomes that Bart Starr question, I know you're joking around.
Yeah.
I think they all watch old film of these guys. I think you become obsessed with the position. Some athletes don't know about anyone who came before them and nothing. But I think with certain athletes, Kobe was one of them. Obviously, emulated Jordan so much. There are some who will watch old film. I mean, Peyton Manning was watching every quarterback under the sun. He would talk about them like a historian of the game.
you watched a Netflix series on Patrick Mahomes. He was way too busy with childcare to watch any film of Bart Starr.
I know. Maybe when he was younger.
It's
YouTube highlights. It's not like you have to go searching through the Library of Congress.
But you're right, though. I think a lot of athletes are different. I think some are obsessed with the past, Peyton Manning, and understand the history. Some are more in the moment. There are a lot of, we talk to young athletes or see young athletes who they don't even know. They're like Michael Jordan. You're like, oh, the shoe guy. Like they don't even like. There are a lot of young athletes who aren't fans of their sport even.
Okay, well, this is interesting. Cousin Sal does a podcast with Bill Simmons. He said this story, and I think it's true, that all the Cowboys who wore 88 all have a text thread.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And they're like, this is Cousin Sal's story. I'm just taking it because I heard it on the podcast. But I think we underestimate when you're actually doing this for a living how much you interact with people from a different era.
Yeah, but you know that you can ask any company in the draft, who's your favorite NFL team growing up? I didn't watch NFL football. That is such a common answer.
Okay, but if I ask CeeDee Lamb, who's Drew Pearson, he's going to know who it is.
He might know Drew Pearson, but he might not know who...
Steve Largent.
Steve Largent. Like, I'm telling you, football fans, football players are oblivious. A lot of them do not like to watch football.
Interesting.
Because they do it all day. It's like, we don't want to go home and listen to another sports talk radio station. I'm telling you, they do not know their history.
I know, but we know a lot about radio just simply by being in this business.
You ever heard young NBA, ask NBA players at the draft, go quiz them on the NBA history. They go as far back as like
6 months.
Karis LeVert. There's like an old timer to them.
That's what's been so funny about a lot of these GOAT conversations has been you will hear these people say things about guys that they didn't watch, and you're like, how could you say that? Like, people, the big thing will be, well, did Mike really play defense? We're like, yes. he was amazing defensively.
That's complicated. He didn't. But at the end of his career, he didn't cover his man. He just ball hawked for steals.
Don't tell Jeff Van Gundy that. He said a bunch of times how it wasn't the triangle offense that killed us. It was trying to score on Pippen and Jordan.
Well, I'm just saying that Pip, whatever. Anyway.
There we go.
Jordan played the passing lanes, and it was amazing at it.
So the question about Mahomes, does he need 7 Super Bowls to pass Tom Brady as the GOAT? Of course, we've got a game right in front of us here, which is the stark difference in these two quarterbacks. You were talking about last night, where opening night, sort of media night for the NFL, and just seeing up on stage, Mahomes, who's still young, but has been here so many times, versus the sort of babyface Brock Purdy, babyface assassin Brock Purdy, who, doesn't seem overwhelmed by the moment at all, but there was definitely felt like a difference between the two guys just physically standing there.
Yeah, I mean, you can't help but notice the history and this level of success. But one thing, do you buy their sort of budding friendship? It seemed like they were fans of each other.
So that's a funny thing you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Is Pat Mahomes doing a little Michael, where he's kind of befriending all of his rivals? Because Michael did it, and his rivals now think for sure he did it on purpose.
Bill Russell, the same way, became friends with Wilt Chamberlain, right? To try to make him comfortable and try to
Mike
get
did
his
it
head a
with
little.
Pat Ewing, did it with Charles Barkley. These guys were his buddies and his friends, and then he would rip these guys' heads off when the game started.
That was a plot on HBO's Winning Time about the Lakers, how Dr. J befriended Magic, and then they played in the finals 3 times, and Magic eventually learned to screw Dr. J, and it killed him on the court.
Okay, we see that our next guest has arrived, the one and only Peter King. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll ask Peter this question about Mahomes and Brady. We're going to do all that next. Don't move a muscle. We're back in moments. CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond.
Oh boy. Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff.
This is Rihanna. This is
I know.
girl.
I'm just saying the heated debates about best halftime shows. I know our next guest is more with me on his favorite halftime show. Actually, Peter King is here. I don't know. Do you even watch halftime? You've been in so many. How many Super Bowls have you been to?
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. The last time I did not do any work at halftime was in New Orleans for the U2 halftime.
Oh, 01? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was a long time. That was like 20
02.
years ago. 02, yeah. And but no, mostly because listen, like I did watch Tom Petty. But most of the acts now, I don't know their music. Like I don't know anything by Usher. I mean, talk about dating me or something. I don't know these things. I'm in the world of, this happened, I forget what year, but it was a few years ago. Brett Musburger was doing a college football game, I think on ABC. And in the fourth quarter, he said, "You're going to want to stick around after this because we've got that bright new artist coming on our TV, Beyonce." and that's kind of me. But I must say, even I knew her name was Beyonce.
Beyonce. Oh boy, Peter King is here. Football Morning in America. We love him. We worked with him. You guys were just talking about how Perloff used to edit your column so many years ago. So cool. Okay, one of the questions.
Andrew Perloff has reinvented himself about 16 times, man. That's
What a
the
success
coolest
story.
thing. I really love it.
How about this?
Really, really love it.
Peter, so I think you would appreciate this. One of the things we did yesterday off of Radio Row is we went to a Vegas-themed wedding. And
wow.
Yeah, it was great. It was actually people renewing their vows, but they let us come and be a fly on the wall and shoot some video. We're doing it for social, and it was touching. And they were a little bit sort of hesitant, hey, what are you doing? How many cameras are you bringing? Until I told them that I was bringing Andrew Perloff. I was like, I'm bringing McLovin from the Dan Patrick Show. Doors open.
That is so fantastic.
This is what it's like to be in Vegas with Andrew
love that.
Perloff.
Actually, I used to talk about editing your column was like my claim to fame because we all have war stories from editing Peter, because you have to admit you file late at night on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
So all the editors would be like, "Oh my gosh, it's 4 a.m. and it was a real great experience." So I got to tell you, one of the highlights of my career was editing Monday Morning Quarterback.
Yeah.
Because the amount of work you put into that is I mean, it's sort of unprecedented. And anyway, I just want to say that. And also, I was there with Dr. Z and Peter, so it was a dream team.
That was
I mean,
fun.
Dr. Z, Peter, Mike Silver. We were talking about the old Sports Illustrated crew last night.
Yeah.
Can you imagine all the talent in that room covering football?
Hey, look, you know, I weep now because of SI, but you know, I'm one of those. It is what it is, guys.
Yeah.
But there is something incredibly sad about Michael McCambridge, who wrote the big SI book, and he's written a bunch of books. He's got things in great perspective. He said the worst thing about what's happening to SI, absolute worst thing, is that you're going to look back in 30 years and you're going to want to read about this incredible Super Bowl between Brock Purdy and Patrick Mahomes. Last pick in the draft versus one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. You kidding me? How bizarre is this? And you're going to Google or do whatever you do, whatever AI stuff you're going to do
Put
in
on
that
your
generation.
headset.
And you're not going to be able to find anything. You'll find a bunch of videos. You might find some column from 35 years ago describing the game, but it isn't like when something is made word in Sports Illustrated, you know.
You know what's fun? What's interesting about that? Peter King is joining us here on the set. Football Morning in America. His podcast is amazing. We haven't stopped comparing guys, though, from different generations to now. That conversation isn't going anywhere, and we're doing it right this moment with Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. We've been talking this morning. Does Mahomes need to win 7 Super Bowls to be considered the greatest of all time? I'd love to know your thoughts on that.
I think it's hard to know what he needs to do because what I would say is that nobody ever thought anybody would surpass Joe Montana, and then Brady surpassed him going 90 miles an hour on the highway. Yeah. You know, so I don't know. I don't know what all I can say is I thought Mahomes was interesting last night when he was talking about I mean, I want to play another 15 years. And why wouldn't you when the quarterback is protected the way this one is and when you're making, I don't know what he makes, $50 million a year, whatever, and he'll make a lot more. But I think there's one interesting thing to look at right now. This is the end of Patrick Mahomes' it's his 7th year in football, but his 6th year as a regular starter. And in those 6 years, he's played in he's played in a championship game every year, and he's played in 4 Super Bowls. And now Tom Brady didn't do that. Nope. Nobody has done that. Nobody. But I also remember, you know, the first Super Bowl I ever covered. This is my 40th one. First Super Bowl I ever covered, Montana Marino, Palo Alto, Stanford. And Montana wins, and after the game, everybody said, "Hey, Dan, don't worry about it. You'll get back plenty of times. You'll get back." And he never got back.
Yep.
He might be considered. I think he's the best quarterback to never win one, and it's so incredibly sad. And you could tell later in life. I worked with him at HBO on Inside the NFL. It was just one of those things you really didn't bring up. Because
still bothered him.
It bothers him. It bothers him to this day. I mean, of course you accept it. What are you going to do? Go jump off a bridge?
Right.
You know, and I shouldn't make that line. But he basically, everybody thought. So all I'm saying is Patrick Mahomes, I don't know if he's going to get back to another one. I think he's going to get back to several, but you just don't know. And on the surface, I would say he probably does have to win as much as Brady won. But I think you have to judge that based on what happens in a guy's career rather than projecting what's going to happen in his career.
But Brady and Belichick had 20 years. What's your sense of how this Chiefs team is going to stay together? Is Andy Reid, you know, in
there's a lot of fluff out there about Andy Reid retiring. I don't think he's going to retire. And I don't know how much longer he's going to do it. Yeah. And I'll tell you the reason I don't think he's going to retire. After the playoff win in Buffalo that broke Maggie's heart a couple of weeks ago.
One of several things.
Yeah.
Just add it to the
I'm
list.
not going back to your college days, so you stop that. You just stop that. But I'll tell you, after that game, locker room is thinned out, and I asked if I could see Andy. And I sat in his office for 15 minutes. He didn't want to leave. He loves hanging around, shooting the breeze about this play or that play or something. And I just walked out of there, and I'd heard the rumors. Hey, this is it for Andy. This, Clark Hunt might be looking for a new coach and all that. And I just said, this guy's not retiring. He just loves this too much. He absolutely loves it. And I'll just tell you one other thing. So last year was Corn Dog, this incredible play at the end of the game that they ran twice. Once on the right side with Kadarius Toney, once on the left side with Sky Moore that won the Super Bowl. And this year, during the year, Andy took a play. They were playing New England, and their offense is awful. And he took a play from the Penn-Columbia game in 1945 that Matt Nagy had brought to him. He saw on grainy film, and he goes, this guy's Mahomes, this guy's Jerick McKinnon, and Rashee Rice is this other guy. Yeah. And they did it. They practiced it, and they put it in. The Patriots, you could tell. They're looking around, who's what? What is Mahomes doing down in a three-point stance? Mahomes said it was the first time I've been in a three-point stance since I ran the 40 at the Combine. and after the game, Andy was just effervescent. Yeah. It's nobody can imagine Andy Reid being so happy and excited, but in his way, he is.
Well, and Peter King is joining us, Football Morning in America, Peter King podcast. It's all awesome. To do that to Belichick, I don't know if that's intentional, but to pull out a play from 1940s, Columbia, what'd you say, Columbia, Yale? That seems like a Belichick move. And now he's in the news because he didn't get hired. Do you think that Belichick, is this a humbling moment, a soul-searching moment?
It's got to be.
Or does he think everyone else is crazy for not hiring him?
I don't know. I haven't talked to Bill since 2006. But I do think Bill has to look at this and say, he's an intelligent guy. He's not one of these guys who's like, who basically says, well, I'm right and all of you are wrong. He said, I'm going to learn from this. And I think what he's going to learn is, I think you're going to see Bill Belichick is going to take a media job. Not that he's going to reinvent himself, but it's like, remember that thing he did, the NFL 100 with Eisen and Collinsworth? And he was excellent on there. There was one moment.
Won an Emmy.
Yeah, there was one moment in that thing that I said, we need to see more of this out of Belichick. Joe Green came on, and Eisen later told me, he said, let me ask the first question. Of course, that's the first question. And he said to Joe Green, they go, they start the thing, the segment, they're taping it, and he goes to Joe Green, hey, Joe, how many takes did it take you to throw that shirt to that kid in the Coke commercial? And I mean, don't,
off the wall,
Belichick, you don't think of that.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, based on a profile I did in Sports Illustrated in 2004 on Belichick, that there's a lot of stuff in his past. I was in his boyhood room in Annapolis, Maryland. I saw the books on the bookshelf, Death Be Not Proud, and Hardy Boys books. He had the full collection. And he wasn't always the taciturn, dour, sour turd ball.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, what happened in 2006? That was Spygate year or what?
It was Spygate, yeah. I was highly, highly critical of him. Because if you remember this, the previous year, the NFL knew what the Patriots were doing, taping other teams' sidelines. And so they sent out a blanket internal memo to every team. It's come to our attention that perhaps multiple teams have been taping other sidelines and then matching cadences, all that stuff when they look back on it to steal signals. That's not allowed. Don't do it again. In the first game the next year, Patriots at Jets, Belichick does it.
Yeah.
And I said, this is shameful. It's shameful. He is flouting the rules. Whereas I think Deflategate was Roger Goodell killing an ant with a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Way too much on that. But in that one in 2006, I think they couldn't come down hard enough on him, in my opinion.
So, Peter, you're obviously a huge baseball fan as well. The
Yeah.
trend where the GM is the man on baseball teams and they
Yeah.
hire a manager to do his bidding. Now we have all these young coaches in the NFL. Is that what's happening here? Why are there a bunch of 36 and 37-year-old hires and Bill Belichick doesn't get a job?
Nor Vrabel, nor Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not surprised about Pete Carroll, really, but his last few years were not great. Even though Belichick's last few years weren't great, I think people still look at him as the god. Vrabel really surprises me. I am mystified by that. But I think, and I wrote it in my Football Morning in America column last week, the watchword this year in coaching searches was collaborative. They want team players as coaches. John Schneider wants to be able to sit in a room with Mike McDonald and to say, what do you think about this week? What are we trying to do? And he wants to be able to say to him, how about doing this? Not doing it, but saying, maybe we ought to think about this. And I think, honestly, I didn't think what Amy Adams-Strunk did when she fired Vrabel and said, basically, we need more of a collaborative environment. I didn't think that much of it, but that turned out to be the most telling point that any owner in the NFL made this whole coach hiring season.
Peter King's joining us, Football Morning America, Peter King podcast, and of course we all worked together once upon a time at Sports Illustrated. Peter has still got Cowboy fans all over the country trying to recover from that devastating loss to the Packers. Then Jerry Jones come out and said, we're going to be all in this year. Is this Jerry fluff, or is this something that gives Cowboy fans that dirty four-letter word of hope?
I don't know. I mean, at some point you are what you are. To me, the Dallas Cowboys are what they are. When is the last time the Dallas Cowboys have played great for 60 minutes in a huge game? There isn't one. You got to go back years and years and years. I mean, so look, I really like Jerry Jones personally. I think he's been really, really good for football. But I also think that he kind of tries to find ways to it's crazy. In the oil business, you've got to be ruthless. In the football business, he's Mr. Nice Guy. Jason Garrett for 10 years.
Oh, yeah, loyal.
He's loyal to his guys. Yep. And look, Mike McCarthy's won 36 games the last 3 years. So it would be almost cruel and unusual punishment to fire him. But you tell me, do you have any faith that they're going to turn it around this year? Not turn it around, but take the next step? I just don't. And again, I will just say one other thing. Dak Prescott might be my favorite human being in the NFL. But, man, he's not played good in these big games.
All right, Peter, real quick, Super Bowl, early take. I know you have a lot of reporting left. How's this game play out in your mind?
Kyle Shanahan said something to me on my ride to work with him last week that I wrote in my column yesterday. And, he said this about gambling, okay? And his point was, what is so crazy about gambling is I think I really know what's going on. I really do. I'm positive I know what's going on. And the game always turns out different than I thought it would. And so that's kind of my feeling is I don't think in a game like this you pick against Mahomes. Yep. That's just my thought.
And you like Purdy.
I
you
love
said
Purdy.
He was your MVP or close to it midway through the season, I remember.
Yeah, I love Purdy. I think Purdy's fantastic. I really do think that he is not just a great story. I think he's a really, really good long-term quarterback. Yep. But he's also in this environment for the first time. It's a pressure defense. Steve Spagnuolo ripped Tom Brady's guts out when they were 18-0, and he's done it several times since. I don't know. I really don't have a strong feeling one way or the other, but I would lean Kansas City.
Is that the most interesting part of the Super Bowl to you, or something else that you've got your eye on?
Brock Purdy.
Yeah, Brock Purdy. This is his world, and we're living in it.
It's an amazing story.
What's the right way to have a conversation about Brock? What do you think's right? Elite quarterback, game manager? I mean, what do you do with Purdy?
In week 5 of this season against the Dallas Cowboys, Brock Purdy did something that Next Gen Stats has been measuring games with guys having these devices in them that can tell all these things about their movements, all that.
Yeah, they're tracking them.
This was the first time in the 8 years that they have been doing it that a quarterback on a play or in a game had 4 out of pocket touchdown throws on the run.
Wow.
And they beat the Dallas Cowboys 42-10.
Yeah.
And Brock Purdy was just awesome that day. So I think he's a real quarterback. I don't buy all this crap. If we had 24/7 football analysis 365 days a year like they do now, if they had that in 1982, Joe Montana would be being called a game manager.
Yep.
He would be.
Absolutely.
Well, people compare Brock to Joe.
Yeah, and rightfully so. He's a similar type of player. And it sounds, I wrote in my column this week, it sounds sacrilegious. But just look at the numbers of Brock Purdy over his first 26 starts and compare him to Steve Young and Joe Montana. Now, the game has changed massively, but it's pretty interesting to compare their first 26 starts of 2 all-time quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I love it. 40 years, and you still get surprised by the NFL constantly.
I'm shocked. I have no.
And delighted by it.
I am delighted by it. It's fun. It's really fun.
Peter, you're the best. Thank you
thank
for
you,
doing
guys.
this,
Great
for
to see
waking
you.
up
Thank you.
early. Always great to see you. Peter King,
I
Football Morning
appreciate it.
America.
Thank you.
Peter King podcast. Check him out. He's the preeminent football writer in this country covering the NFL. Okay. We've got Andrew Bogish standing by. He's got headlines. Good morning, Bogish.
Hey, guys. Good morning. Maybe nobody plays quarterback like Patrick Mahomes does, but a few people do sound like him. Some of them are green and amphibious and made of felt. Mahomes was asked to do a Kermit the Frog impression last night.
I'm talking right now. That's it.
I'm cringing.
Yeah, I don't think he liked the question. Brock Purdy had more fun when the Nickelodeon kids asked him for his SpongeBob. Now, EJ's got to tell me if that's good or bad, but he grabbed his Adam's apple and made that noise as a SpongeBob reference.
I thought it was pretty good, actually. I'm going to answer for EJ, who's off headset right now. My kid is now into SpongeBob. I like
really?
it. Yeah.
Wait, your kid's 4 years old. SpongeBob, that is not age appropriate.
I know. Well,
that's not even close.
Someone in his class turned him onto SpongeBob,
Oh,
and he
that
asked
is-
to watch it. This
Take
is
him
what
out of
happens,
school.
Perloff.
Get him
know.
I'll
What happened
teach
to
him.
Daniel Tiger. I mean, that's
slums
ridiculous.
of suburban New
What
Jersey.
kind of parent are you?
I love it. There's finally a cartoon we can watch together.
Family Guy when he's 6.
SpongeBob is the GOAT Nickelodeon show.
Yeah, but don't you think 4-year-old? That's a
He
little
doesn't
young.
know anything.
No, that's fine.
It's all over his head.
I was watching. I was 4.
It's not just that.
I was watching Ren and Stimpy when I was 4.
It's the violence. It's not. It's the
Yeah, I know.
extreme violence of all those shows. That's not good for your head. Whatever.
You guys watch Tom and Jerry. You guys are
I know. And the Roadrunner and the Coyote.
Yeah. How many times the Coyote got hit with an anvil? I mean,
Yeah.
you guys turn out
A
okay.
suicidal wolf. Yeah.
Elmer Fudd chasing him around with a rifle?
Yeah. I'm gonna kill that rabbit.
Yeah, but he had a hunting license. It was about filing paperwork.
Tom and Jerry. Tom would literally chase a mouse with a butcher knife for a half an hour.
How did all these cartoon characters get all that dynamite? Why wasn't anyone even questioning all
But
that?
somehow to me, sometimes I watch SpongeBob and I'm like, whoa, that is a complex theme for a 4-year-old. Anyway.
Yeah, he doesn't get it.
The Niners apparently complaining privately, but not publicly, about their practice field on UNLV's campus. The NFL laid sod on top of their field turf just last week. It's apparently too soft. Field firmness can be measured. Who knew? The league average is 78, never below 70. This field might be in the 50s, but Kyle Shanahan said last night they will not change their plans because of any issues. They did not win a Grammy, but the Clippers won their Grammy road trip.
Dances on Young with 3. Lost the handle with 2. Throws it up at the horn. Gets fouled. Makes it in. James Harden with a 4-point play opportunity.
Carlos Jimenez, Clippers Radio. Sixers great James Harden helping LA outscore the Hawks in Atlanta 149, 144, 30 points, 10 assists for Harden. His team has won 26 of their last 31 games.
I love it. I absolutely love to see James Harden thrive and hit 40-foot bank shots because that's just going to disappoint fans even more in the postseason when he's 2 for 17 in Game 7.
What fan? He's played for the Clippers.
Wow. Screw this kid. Thank you. Who's the bigger enemy of this segment? But yeah, I mean, Harden is hitting shots that he did not dream of making in Brooklyn or Philly. It's so annoying.
What else we got?
The Lakers, meanwhile, go 4-2 on their Grammy trip, capped off by last night's 124-118 win in Charlotte. LeBron, AD, D'Angelo Russell all scored 26+. And now we go back to the Klay Thompson saga. He's now watching the Warriors finish games. Here's Klay with some enhancement from the one and only Andrew Kaplan.
I've accepted it. Like, could be mad, but I'm not getting mad. I'm happy for these young guys, honest. And, yeah, we won. And it's hard to get wins in this league.
That was Draymond singing in the background, by the way. I think he was trying to kind of cut the tension and defend his teammate, but he shouldn't sing anymore. Klay said all of that after last night's 109-98 win in Brooklyn. The Warriors went just 4 for 22 from 3. All 4 of those makes from Steph. That was their lowest percentage in a win under Steve Kerr.
By the way, you could tell which guy is making $100 million and which guy is about to take a mid-level exception somewhere else in that clip. Draymond singing like he's got no worries.
No, but
he
again,
was gone for a month.
No, he was doing that.
People.
He was right next to Klay, and it started with him actually cursing, trying to beat the reporters to the punch. He was doing that on purpose. He was trying to be a good teammate there. That wasn't him being mindless. That was all on purpose, I think, to try and break up what he thought was an unnecessarily serious conversation.
Well, I mean, listen, Klay's going to need a big contract. He only has $274 million career earnings. What do you? He doesn't care about. He's okay, EJ. Do not worry about.
He's a legend.
Yeah.
He's a legend. I don't want to see Klay go out like this. You guys don't love Klay Thompson. I know.
We love Klay.
Yeah, I think he's the one guy in the Warriors. Everybody can say, okay, everybody can love him.
But I think Draymond's happy because he got the extension, and Klay's worried about money.
Well, if you have money, you always want more.
Exactly.
Generally, this is going to be a fascinating trade deadline. I don't know what the Warriors, what their situation is going to be. They got Mike Dunleavy now as their general manager. The owner's son is in the front office. This is going to be crazy for the Warriors, for the Lakers. I mean, Thursday is going to be wild.
It feels like all 30 teams want DeJounte Murray. Like everybody's fix is DeJounte Murray.
Yeah. Bogish.
Guys, I'm done.
Awesome. Thank you. Fantastic job. As always, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Coming up, we've got a story that could change the landscape in college sports. We've also got more Super Bowl preview for you, especially around these quarterbacks. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Show, baby. We're getting closer and closer to the game, but we've been doing theme music of all the halftime shows of the past. Of course, got your Usher right here.
Do you have a favorite off the top of your head?
I mean,
don't
people
really.
go to Prince. That was
everyone
awesome.
says Prince.
I mean, I've got to see a couple in person. I've been lucky, so I got to see Madonna, Beyonce. I mean, they're all fine.
Yeah. By the way, I mean, listen. I agree. Nothing is that spectacular.
It is. It's cool. It's hard to pick a favorite.
Of all the things Prince did in his life, doing the halftime show to me is not the way people talk about it. But I love that Peter King was on it. He goes, I haven't watched one since Tom Petty. I was like, I knew he was going to say Tom Petty.
That squares. If you missed any part of our show, including Peter King, who joined us here on the set live, you are welcome to download the Maggie and Perloff podcast. If you give us a 5-star review, we would be so forever grateful. Before we get into the story that may change the future of college sports, can I do my top 5 moments from yesterday?
But Maggie, it's just one day. How can you have 5 moments?
We were up for 20 of the 24 hours yesterday. I wish I was joking about that, so a lot went down. And this portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. Okay, Monday, longest day of our natural lives. Perloff and I and EJ were up for 20 of 24 hours. Here are the top 5 things that we did yesterday. Number 5, watch someone get a back massage while sitting at a blackjack table at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Monday. That's 5. That was crazy.
Wait, I
EJ and I saw that on the way to the show.
Oh, I was going to say, what were you doing up at 2 o'clock in the morning? This is the first part of the day.
Yes, this was the beginning of the day. Number 4 on the top 5 things we did yesterday, I was beyond starving at the end of the day. Hadn't eaten a lot all day. Got my first burger from Wahlburgers, and it was delicious, I think. I don't even think I stopped to taste it, but it saved my life last night, so thank you to Wahlburgers.
I ordered In-N-Out for you, and you is this part of it? You accidentally left on a bus.
No, the bus said
Wait,
they were
going
going
to say that burger's only because Maggie said I want an In-N-Out burger. So you sent me and Sully to get In-N-Out, and you're like, I'm going to go hold the bus, and you're gone.
I couldn't hold the bus. They would not let me hold the bus.
Eat my burger.
I had to leave you. That's a funny way to put it. Okay, number 3 on the top 5 things we did Monday. Watch the 11-year-old reporter just absolutely kill it at media night.
Awesome. Screw that kid. Well, I don't know why you guys are supporting this 11-year-old and his endeavors. You realize he's going to be sitting where you are soon enough.
5 minutes.
Screw this kid.
Number 2, top 5 things we did yesterday. An actual, real live magician who performs on the Strip in Las Vegas taught us a card trick.
Amazing.
How lucky are we? That was Murray the Magician, who's world-renowned, 2 million YouTube subscribers, billions of views at the Tropicana.
Also the coolest dude.
Yeah, awesome. And he showed us a card trick, and then he actually showed us a second card trick that we didn't talk about with fake cards.
We can't. Stop.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Stop.
Okay,
I'm going to use
He's gonna be
this
ostracized on the.
To be fair, he said he didn't care if you.
No. But I'm going to use this on people. I don't want you to tell the audience.
Fake card.
I'm going to amaze people.
Okay, and the number 1 thing we did yesterday when we were up for 20 of a possible 24 hours out of the day, we attended an Elvis wedding.
Yeah, we did.
Yes, it was one of the great moments of this job. I mean, maybe of our lives. It was Scott and Michelle who were renewing their vows. They were from Denver, and they got, I guess they renewed the vows with Elvis serving as the officiant, and also Elvis sang songs, walked her down the aisle. It's amazing.
Amazing day. I remember I was standing at a random corner in Las Vegas at 10 o'clock last night. I said, Maggie, is it Thursday yet? And you're like, no, it's Monday.
Still Monday. It was a wild
day. So here's my question.
Yeah.
I know you need sleep. I know EJ desperately needs sleep. What are we doing today? Let's go Vegas, baby. Come on, that oxygen is pumping in the air. I'm ready to go.
We've got a lot more fun things planned, which I didn't even think was going to be possible. But we're going to put all that stuff up on our social media, especially Murray you'll be able to do the sword card trick, which was really phenomenal, and our trip to the Vegas chapel where we saw Scott and Michelle renew their vows by Elvis.
Amazing.
Yeah, we've got more to do.
Yeah,
Elvis costumes hanging in the closet.
The other thing, too, just being in Las Vegas, forget the Super Bowl week. You have no idea what you're going to see on a moment-to-moment basis.
No, speaking of that, there was a really interesting story that came down yesterday. I know we want to touch on it for a moment because this is going to be really impactful moving forward. And this is, Perloff, your alma mater. How about Dartmouth?
Yeah.
The men's basketball team actually got certified by the National Labor Relations Board that they can be school employees, if I'm reading this correctly.
Every legal move that has been made in the last 3 years has been for players against college sports. Players are going to get played. Players are going to get played.
There you go.
Help me out here.
Players are going to get paid.
That's not so easy to say. You just did it very easily. Yeah, no. So what's going to happen here is they're going to become a union, and they're going to be able to collectively bargain, and the courts are going to uphold it. So that's just Dartmouth basketball. Guess who's next? Alabama football at some point down the road.
It's a huge story. I mean, It's kind of going under the radar right now because we're blinded by Mahomes and Purdy, and rightfully so, and this great Super Bowl and Taylor Swift. But make no mistake, this is going to be a landmark moment.
Yeah.
And, it's probably long overdue.
Well, I think it could, in a way, save college sports because a lot of coaches are leaving because NIL is a huge pain. This could organize the payments board.
Thank yous. Wow, let's do it. EJ Stewart, first Super Bowl, first sleepless day. Thank you so much. Jeremy, thank you. To JT, thank you. Dave Marinix over there, thank you so much. Of course, to Andrew Kaplan, to Andrew Bogish, Carlos Ortiz on the ones and twos, the Weedos, the coffee drinkers. See ya.
You're in a 5-minute break.